it could be BO1 as well for the first
Oh
couple of
no!
rounds.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
It's 128, right?
Which you need a note from your doctor or pharmacist.
For that gum, sir?
Yeah.
Sir?
Yeah, right here, right here. I have my COVID. I have my COVID shots, and I have my dental gum. Don't you think I closed out the year quite well? Don't you think I was really opinionated and was awesome today? Shut the up.
This is a good way to, how do I put this lightly? A region up. Oh my God, it's almost over. The year is almost over. Jesus fucking Christ. Vance, how do you fit through the doorway in the little elf entrance to Santa's workshop, mate? I don't think they make it your size, big guy.
Well, apparently they did. It's a little bit tight, but we made it work.
What is that fucking sweater? Give me a proper look at that.
It's a Minesweeper sweater.
Oh, I like it.
It's a Minesweeper ugly Christmas sweater, 1990 to 2021. I bought it off the Microsoft store.
The Microsoft store?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what's ironic is that Vans, for those that don't know, who don't watch Vans' stream, this guy fucking plays Minecraft. Sorry, Minesweeper, excuse me, on stream. He plays Minesweeper on his fucking stream.
And it's entertaining.
Yeah, let it be known, it's not the content, but the content creator that draws people to the stream. Well, it would be if people watch this stream, but you know what I mean? Like it's fucking, it's crazy, bro.
The good part of it is that I think 50% of the proceeds of buying these shirts goes to charity. So it was a good cause in the end.
Wow, yeah, make me feel like shit for giving you,
yeah, right,
right, cool.
Right.
All right, Mitch, who are you shilling for today, mate?
Spirit.
Huh?
Oh, I've got a Rick and Morty shirt on. That's pretty much a given for every day. I haven't gone Christmassy with it. I've just kept it plain and blue, blending into the background. I knew Vans was going to do it for all three of us.
Well,
exactly.
I like it. We're capturing the boomer crew over here, and on this side, it's like the emotionally disaffected sort of, doomer, millennial kind of incel energy group over here. I don't know what I'm channeling today.
Okay. It's hot in this hat.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the lengths you go to get into the Christmas spirit. I'm wearing a grey t-shirt. That's unfortunate. Mitch, what do you got for dinner, mate? Anything you're going to spill on yourself today?
What
my wife wants to know.
I missed that with Vans. What's up?
Sorry, did you bring anything with you to spill on your sweater today?
I got some chocolate milk
pasta
here. Maybe that can make an appearance later on. We'll see. I think that'll make a nice stain. But no pasta, no satay sauce today, so we'll be safe. Hopefully.
I love a chalky milk. I haven't had one of those since fucking hell before the year 2000.
Protein, mate.
I want to say.
That's how I excuse it.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Hey, do you want to, you guys? It's obviously the week of the 19th of December, by the way. So it's our last episode for the year. Episode number. Get ready for this, guys. 49. 49 episodes this year.
Big number.
That's wild. It's actually, is that true?
That flew by.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. We did 49. I think some of us missed some here and there, but overall, I think we did at least 40. I think it was a good year for us. I think it was pretty cool.
Great job, guys. Yeah, awesome.
Yep.
The inane rantings and episodes that continue to go way too long. So thanks everyone for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Vicky FPS in the chat. What a nice greeting from you. Really appreciate that. All right, let's talk about what's on the docket for today, ladies and gentlemen. I don't look Mongolian at all. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, we're going to talk about some of the roster moves going on here. Yeah, faces of Patiphan, Steel, and of course Nitro. Some interesting corollaries, I think, as a result of some of these roster moves, which we will discuss. All these NA roster moves, Mitch, I'm sure, is going to have so much to say. I'm sure none of it's going to be of substance, but that's what we come to expect. We're also going to talk about Yoru, who's been forced to sit in the corner for a little while now. He's received some tweaks, here and there to try and improve him, and still not quite there. So let's see. Vans obviously is on the bleeding edge of sort of new meta picks as he was sort of shilling for KO, and we saw a bunch of him at Champions, so fair enough. We'll also talk about the situation with the Champion skins. Not a hugely controversial topic, but an interesting point of discussion here, and maybe a point to discuss in the future is sort of planning these kind of incentives, and we'll compare it to comparable initiatives across the industry. All right, that's done. You don't get to use the buzzer say you fucks. You put that away.
I don't think you ever got to use it, right? Have we used it once?
It's honestly like we have 3 topics. I spent a minute talking about 3 topics. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually at this point, I'm just trying to fill up the time to keep people on the edge of their seats.
Well, I mean, we're also trying to always cut our show down to like 5 hours, but we always get pretty close to that.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. You know, when we actually have nothing of substance said, we can still fill the time. It's really impressive. I guess we are all casters.
I'm here for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all of us, in fact, all of us have done plenty of play-by-play in our time, so I think that's probably why. Roster moves! Fucking, let's go. Daniel, roll it. First one here. We talked about this one last week. We teased it, or touched on it, I guess is a better way of putting it. Steel goes to T1. So T1, obviously, history of bringing in boomers, wheeling him in like Hannibal to fucking lead this team. Steel is the latest here after his departure from 100 Thieves. Gee, yeah, all right. Well, David, good to see you again, mate. Yep, whenever there's a roster change, of course, there is, you know, a video where it gets explained, and David extremely good at tiptoeing around anything of substance. But he is the IGL, guys. That is the plan. Thoughts, feelings, emotions?
Yeah,
I like it.
I think this is a pretty solid move, all in all. I was chatting with Steel recently. We did a show together, and he was hinting at some of this, right? That he was going to be moving on to a roster. He was going to be competing again soon. He's been saying it on Twitter and all that. But actually getting to see him come into a team that, for me, has just lacked direction for so long, at least as an outsider looking in, I think he could help out a lot there. And also, it really just it fits in with the meme, doesn't it? That they love a good second chance whenever you look over at the likes of T1. So we'll see. We'll see where it ends up.
From 100T taking out 2 zeros, and now he's in a new team, Tier 1. But I think this is a good pickup. I think Curry did a good job as an IGL for this team. But you know, we've all seen for the results of T1 that they weren't that impressive since like these multiple iterations of the rosters. So I think this is like a step in the right direction to have that type of IGL that's going to support this team. Maybe a little bit more micromanagey at times, but maybe under under that helm, it's
because he plays. I asked this because he lurks, right? So you know, to what degree can a lurker really micromanage effectively? Because you don't get to see what the other 4 players do.
Yeah. There's one of that, and then there's the other one of like saying like micromanaging on pacing as well, like really take your time so they could get the timings off of these lurks too, right? So that could be very doable. But the biggest question for me is like, what is going to be that finalized roster for T1 going into 2022? Because there's also rumors of automatic going back to Counter-Strike, right? So
yeah, I think one of the things for Steel as well, though, even being on the lurk, he can still be very efficient at not dictating necessarily the strict play of like go here, do this, but micromanaging pace as opposed to actual action. So literally being able to say like feeling out the round, feeling out the information that's coming from his teammates, and convey like, all right, let's take that a little bit more aggressive now. Let's try to push up. Let's move back and play for those flanks if he's filling the extra space. I think it helps a lot having a lurk IGL. It's something that can really throw the pace off for your opponents because he has active info on what you're doing on the other side of the map while sort of playing out the default, feeling it out on the other side, waiting for one of his teammates to be like, hey, listen, I see the opening, let's go for it. I'm excited, man. Honestly, I think that, like, as I said, for a long time, T1's been sort of a meme, to me at least. You know, looking in, I was never impressed by anything they were putting together. I think Steel's going to change a lot of that.
Yep.
I wonder what you guys think about the comparison here between, you know, someone like Curry, who was like a young sort of up-and-comer player who was IGLing on this team and really had to step up. Remember, we sort of, you know, we did play some sound bites from David Denny, and he was like, yes, Curry's just fucking stepping up. He's putting himself out there, and he's going to IGL this team. Obviously, whether or not that quote-unquote worked out, that's now probably not going to be so much a thing here. So Curry, I think, he's been playing more smokers lately, right? Anyway.
Yeah. Even when he first IGL'd for the team, he was playing Viper too. So I think with Curry, you know, joining T1 and getting to Valorant and having to get into IGL was kind of like that storyline of Vanity at the same time too. And Vanity, when he made the switch, is like, oh, there's not that many IGLs. Somebody's got to do it. So why the hell not, right? And IGLs are a scarcity in Valorant as a whole. So one, it gives you job security if you're going to go into the IGL mode. But I think, you know, he's trying to learn to IGL in a game that he was still trying to get accustomed to at the same time. So that's why I feel that there was maybe too many factors for him to be able to balance all of that. And I feel that dipping your toes into that, at least in the hard way, it helps you understand the game a little bit better in the meta and how the rounds should be played. And it's going to make you a little bit better in the game sense now that you have somebody else that's going to help you lead the charge into what you need to do. So I think it's been a positive. I would say personally, it should be a positive experience for Curry to have that, to have done that.
So this isn't. This throws things into a bit of confusion with T1 because we already know, and it's been reported that this team has been practicing without automatic for a while.
And
So the roster would be Steel, Thwyfo, Skadoodle, Curry, automatic, but they're playing without Skadoodle and automatic. Sources indicate to Mr. Geddes that T1 is looking to pick up 7, who we never really saw. I think we saw him in one map for the 100th. Did we see much from him at all? So this would be this would be one player, but I mean, there'd have to be another. You know what I mean? If they're not playing with Skadoodle and automatic now.
The other issue is that coming out today on Twitter is apparently those plans might be falling through. So if Seven's not going to be with 100 Thieves, or maybe staying with 100 Thieves if those plans fell through of him signing with T1, what's going to happen, right? So if both doors have closed, does he have an opportunity to play for another team? Is there another offer? I feel that right now, somebody like Seven that has that potential and is sort of like, okay, potentially one of the next up-and-comer around the same era of, the Tens and Asuna. So he's like, okay, well, somebody's got to pick him up. But we haven't really seen him at his full potential, or we haven't really seen him play yet. So it's a gamble for a lot of these teams to actually try to pick up somebody and already go into the VCTs of next year and try to qualify. So the stocks are like not as high, in my opinion, for Seven. It's like a gamble to figure out if it's going to be a payoff or not in the long run.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to note, though, for Seven is that, at least as far as I understand, he wasn't starting roster, right?
Correct.
So if he's in there as a sub, I don't think any player who looks for an opportunity elsewhere, who is actually in talks with another org that is, clearly looking to leave, it's very rare for them to be welcomed back into teams. And even if they do, that's going to be a short stint because the fucker's turned around and told you he doesn't want to play with you, It's going to affect players' mental. It's just not good to have, once that trust is broken, it's
Hard
done,
to smooth
right?
it over, right?
Yeah.
People don't forget about this.
It happens sometimes, but for the most part, people are human. You got 4 players on a team. Chances are 1 or 2 of them are going to take that personally, that this dude wanted to abandon them, and it's all just going to spiral from there. So it depends on the team, obviously. But for Seven, he wasn't starting roster, so I think the attitude is honestly going to be just turn around. If he wants to go back, if they were happy to have him in the first place, if they weren't pushing him to look for offers, I don't think they'll be upset about it. They'd just be like, yeah, fair enough, dude. You're trying to run your career. That's no one's
exactly. And 100 Thieves are also in a situation where they're trying to figure out what their main roster is going to be, right? So
exactly.
There's that opportunity there as well, where you get to play with Seven. So with Asuna. So who knows? We'll see what happens.
So, what is it with all these Valorant players being linked with returns to Counter-Strike, guys? The year is done. Champions is over. We have news about next year's VCT circuit in general, which we'll cover later in the show. We'll talk about that with a special guest. Why do you think these guys are moving back? And what does it say about, Valorant versus CS or anything like that? Can we make any inferences from their perspective on what sort of drives these moves?
Man, I feel maybe it's just something that they wanted to try out and found out that it's not for them, right? Dabs has tried it. Now maybe Ska. Well, I don't know what Ska is going to do, but Automatic, for example. Floppy, when they realize that, it's not really the same. Exactly. It's not the same type of tactical shooter because CS is CS and Valorant is Valorant. Valorant promotes a lot of that teamwork where you can't do too much on your own usually, right? Where CS, there's like a high skill level in terms of individual skill gaps. So the better you are, the more like a godly you could become if you're thinking about the Ziwu or like the Simples of the world. Even though the game fundamentally plays the same every single time, the game could be totally different depending on what team you play because of that skill gap that you have for some of these players. And I feel that maybe they're more hungry for that type of competition than it is for Valorant, right? And maybe even the traveling might be a little bit different next year for CS than it was in Valorant. I'm pretty sure a lot of them came into Valorant because they were potentially getting burnt out from all the traveling with the CSGO schedule. But who knows what that's going to look like in 2022 with everything's going on right now.
I honestly think that CS is kind of like an old man's game, though, and Valorant is the young guy's game because it evolves so much. Sure, we're at the early stages. And the excuse of like, oh, well, they need to populate the game with maps and with agents and so on. But again, from all the communication we've heard from Riot, the plans in the future seem to be leaning towards agent vetoes rather than limiting the amount of agents. Seems to be towards limiting map pool rotations or or affecting it some way rather than stopping adding maps. As far as we're aware, every year there's going to be 2 maps, 6 new agents. That, along with reworks like we're seeing with the likes of Yoru, and as power creep comes in, some of the others need to be reworked and buffed up. It is an insanely difficult game to keep up with. Whereas when you go to CS, whether you want to call it like old and young man's game or kind of lazy and ADHD, like I don't know what you want to call it, but they're like CS is more relaxed. CS is somewhere that you can have a career, you can actively compete, but with a lot less stress. In Valorant, you can literally be the best team in the world one day and be in a tier 3 region the next.
So you
Just
think
look
it's
at
because
Sentinels.
of how quickly the game changes?
Yes, it's how quickly the game changes, and
Yeah.
I think the practice regimen that you have to put into Valorant is, I don't want to discredit CSGO because, you know, we've come from CSGO from such a long time, and we know that the practice regimen is heavy, but what I'm trying to say is the intricacies of the practice regime, I think, is a lot higher for Valorant, for example, because you could find a fucking Sage TikTok wall on any part of the map wherever you want, and that just changes everything every time. So maybe those small things where you actually have to get into the server and look at VODs, practice that, and try to find new, like, you're trying to meta, like, craft the new stats and the new strats, rather. That's where it gets taxing, I think, for some of the players. Will be like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that it was going to be that heavy.
Okay. Do you think it has anything to do with the lack of like a rank S or Valorant? Like a face it?
I don't think so.
Something like that, because I constantly see complaints from pro players about the morons in their rank games and the
but I mean, you constantly see complaints in CS about how ESEA was fucked and how face it level 10 there were just smurfs even there, elo manipulations, like you're always going to get those complaints, and I don't think it necessarily impacts it as much as a lot of these guys looked at Valorant and said, there's a team offering me like upwards of 20K a month or some shit to go and play. And some of the guys that jumped from CS got insane money. And so they were like, yeah, hell yeah. If I can go make this kind of money, sure, it's a lot more work because you're adapting to a growing game and one that's, as we've already discussed, expanding a lot. But you also have the fact that if you can win, if you can dominate, get to the top level, like look at what Scream is doing, for example. That's the ideal scenario. You're making a shit ton of money. You're spearheading a new esport, and yeah, you're putting in a lot of work, but it's rewarding. I think a lot of these guys jump over, don't find the success, and it's like, I can make maybe the same money, maybe better, maybe slightly less, but for a lot less work over in CS and be more comfortable. And I think comfort is a massive reason that these guys are just let's get out of here.
And then just forfeit their fucking last game of ESEA Premier to get to ESL Pro League, right? That was a fun little fucking story in that scene. But I digress talking about CSGO, but I think the idea of the rank S, I don't think it promotes that type of competition more for the people going into Valorant, because now you're promoting a lot of this still individual players that probably wants to insta-lock into duelists to make sure that they always win a certain bounty at the end of the month for whatever prize.
Noticed.
Sorry?
How Simple got noticed.
Simple got noticed. Yeah, you get noticed as players, but I think what I'm trying to say is that you're still trying to promote more teamwork and the work ethic that has to go into Valorant to make sure that every single layer that goes into your strategy for executing these rounds, it has to be part of a server into a server time as a team. And if you don't want to put that amount of work and you just want to lay back and frag out to make money, then yeah, maybe rank S would be good, but it's not going to help these players go into like the pro level, is what I'm trying to say.
Look at it this way. Something like a rank S. Let's look at ACEND, the arguably best team in the world at the moment. And if you look at these guys, sure, someone like CNED gonna get noticed in rank S, gonna get picked up. Someone like Zeke, sure, yeah. Killes, a little bit less so. Starzo, a little bit less so. Bone Cold, one of the most valuable players in the world. He ain't gonna get noticed in rank S. He's not gonna be opping everybody. He's not Simple. He's not Zywoo. He's not CNED. And I think that it works for a very particular kind of player. For the most part, it's more like semi-competitive.
And you saw last week when we did our show, a lot of people in the chat were like fucking Scoreboard Stevens talking about Keyless's fucking KDAs when it doesn't even fucking matter at all, right?
Yeah.
So
here's what I think, guys. Wait. Here, you ready for this? Bonka to rank S. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think historically he's the kind of guy that would thrive in a pug environment. Someone with raw, untamed aim, game sense.
What is untamed aim? What is it? How do you have untamed aim, Mitch?
Oh, listen, there's a lot of things about Bonka that you don't know, and I'm not sure the world is ready to know. But in the future, you'll have
I mean,
no choice but to learn.
Tanny's going to lose his mind at you. I fucking know it. All right, let's carry on here. Let's talk about something across the pond here, because we also heard that Fnatic, after their loss to Crew and their subsequent ejection from Champions, have decided to make a team change by removing Doma. He's been moved to the inactive roster, which is just, it's double speak because he's still on a contract. So let's start with this. If Fnatic were to make a change, Mitch, is this the player you expected to see go? And let's maybe think about why this is, or if this is a good decision or not, because you've shown that you have a bit of a dim view of teams making these sort of changes sometimes.
No, not after a loss. And not after a loss like Fnatic had to Crew. I mean, Crew were incredible. They were a breakout team. I don't think anything that happened at Champions was an upset for Fnatic. I think they performed exactly as expected. Crew would be the only thing I would flag, but then you highlight how well they did and the fact that, they were clearly underestimated in the event. That's not an upsetting loss for Fnatic. They might think it is, but it's not. I have a strong suspicion that is some politics, not negatively reflecting Doma. It could be something going on between the team and the org, between him and the org, between him and the team. I don't know what's going on. But I do not think that it is a representation of him being a bad player or not fitting into this roster. It feels so strange for something like this. It's a real ear to the ground moment because something doesn't feel right about it.
Like I said last week, I feel like Doma just missed a high note in Boaster's barbershop quintet and was immediately ejected.
That does sound about right. Yeah, he refused to sing at one point. Yeah. He might have said, like, do we really need to do a celebration for this game? And
he overlapped harmonies or something like that. It was just egregious, Boaster reminds me of like the drama teacher that's extremely, like, very invested, right? It's like a high school drama teacher, and they're treating the kids like trained actors, like on Hamilton or Richard III, you know what I mean? Like drilling his team to remember their lines in this shit. Fucking love it. Vance, look, what do you think about this? Because if you want to be a scoreboard Stephen about it, which is what most people without the brain for analysis have to do, or at least the first stop for them.
There's some good
nothing really
numbers.
stood out as being a problem for Doma, really.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we let Keyless get away with what happened in that final series in terms of his scoreline, so Doma definitely gets a pass.
And you almost think that Doma is like a package deal with Durka, because you talk about the double Ds when they got signed and came into Valorant, and then they were like making an impact, in going into Iceland. So I don't think it's a numbers thing. I don't think it's like a personality thing between players, because, we've seen the fun of what was going on in Champions, and those guys are having a good time. Doma even shaves his head for the bald buff and having fun, right? So exactly.
Military seriousness.
It didn't look like he was in a position where he was feeling that something was arising, like in terms of butting heads within the roster. Again, this is all speculation because we're seeing it from the outside bird's eye view in, right? But it could be potentially looking at what Fnatic would have next year in terms of potential free agents. Would that be the case? I don't know. Because right now you're even looking at CNED, rumors are, is that, he's still looking at his options of what he has for North American, for EU. If he's going to go into a jet into Fnatic, what will Durka play? There's so many moving pieces trying to get ready for 2022 that at some point somebody has to take the short of the stick, right? You look at players and professional teams that win, for example, NHL Cups, and then the best players are still getting traded. So maybe it's just a business move looking at the sustainability of the roster in the future.
Yeah, it could very well be. I still, looking at champs, Doma, second highest rated player on Fnatic coming out of that event. If you want to be a scoreboard Steven about it, right? Okay. That is something that you got to give him the props. Man didn't underperform, played 4 different agents. He's been flexing into KO. He's been playing everything, playing 3 or 4 different roles. Really not someone I'd be looking to give shit about his performance. That's for sure. Anyone that plays KO gets a little bit of a break in my book. Really weird situation. I've been hoping we'd get more news on it soon, because the other things in EMEA, I think everything kind of makes sense, but the Doma one is still, there's more to that story. I almost guarantee it.
Okay, I agree. All right, well, we'll talk about it when it gets leaked, inevitably. All right, so another Fnatic roster move. This one, okay, so Yeah, I mean, Anderzz has not renewed, I guess, his contract with Fnatic now. Obviously, you might know Anderzz. He's a friend of the show. He's been on here a bunch of times, and
Correct.
I can tell you, we rely on him for a lot of insight that really only sort of strategic coaches and analysts can provide. So,
Yeah.
you know, without making this a fucking Mike's 2.0 scenario here, this is someone who, you know, I think has really demonstrated his value in formats like this one. He was also obviously working fucked hours. I think he's from Maine. So he's on the East Coast. So not too bad, right? But he's getting up really early and he was sort of doing a lot of work, you know, with Fnatic. And then he flew over there, of course, went to Shoreditch, the boot camp, and was there for the event. So, so this is obviously, you know, another change that we would believe that Fnatic are making in lieu of their lack of results here. But it's quite a shame to see.
I'll be honest with you. I think this whole situation and kind of spilling over into the CNED conversation later, aside from CNED for me is a little bit more publicity. We'll get to that when we get to it. But with Fnatic, the fact that you have Anderzz as well, this is a team that's had a lot of success. As we said, you know, that crew loss is an acceptable loss. They might not be happy with how they lost it, but it's a team that you're not going to go, fuck, we need to dismantle our roster. We've lost to crew. Let me be clear, going into Champions, had you have told me they would lose to crew, I would immediately call for their execution. But considering the fact that, you know, we saw crew from that Furia game look incredible. It was tangible in the first half. Not as shameful. So the point is, Fnatic, for me, it's a contract thing. It's a money thing. It's maybe they've gone for the, like, hey, you know what? Hey, screw it. Either you pay me this much or I'm gone, baby. And they went, all right, bye. And they're like, shit. Bye. Like, I don't know what it is. I think in Anderz's case, it's based on the tweet. My impression was just that they Fnatic wouldn't pay enough or wouldn't, you know, make the contract one good enough. I feel like Doma's in a similar spot. I think a lot of players have also had something to say about the allocation of funds of those champion skins, because this is something a lot of orgs have been really fucking snaky about and going,
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when it's a big deal. Yeah, we'll wait till it's a thing. And now they're like, oh, your contract's actually set for 2 years. So, and they're just, you know, some of them being a little bit disingenuous about it. I think that all of those things combined make this melting pot of players kind of being analysts and whatever it may be, kind of going, you know what? Fuck you, man. Like, if you're not going to pay me, I'll go find somewhere else. And look, Fnatic don't get punished for it for another couple weeks. They could let it simmer for a week and go back and go, hey, listen, we'll give you this much. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Doma return to the roster. I think for Anderzz, it's a little bit less likely, but even still, I could see them coming back and being like, shit, we actually need you. Because I know that dude puts a lot of work in.
Possible, though, that Anderzz is looking for like a head coach role as well.
Very true as well.
Possibly.
You know, I think, which is, you know, I think, you know, Mike's, from what we know, you know, he was obviously, I think he would have been happy to stay on maybe as analyst, but I know he was looking for a head coach position. And, you know, he believed that he had the experience and he had the pedigree to sort of demand that. Fair enough. Could have been the same because obviously, you know, Jake's coaching Fnatic, right? Mini. They already have a head coach. So for Anderzz, it might be a question of, you know, where the next step is for him. You know what I mean? Especially if you think about the coaches in Valorant right now, there aren't that many. So like, you know, just purely on virtue of the work he's done with Fnatic and what we've seen from him, he's probably pretty close to the bleeding edge of the profession. And so he might be looking for another opportunity. Look, you know what? We'll fucking get him on and ask him. You know, he's chill like that. He's obviously a bit friend of the show. So
I honestly think it's just because he's Gold 1, and Gold 1 can just not have a high enough salary as a coach.
Oh, really?
Much love, Anderzz.
What salary should Silver 2 people have? Just out of curiosity.
Silver 2? I think you just keep sipping on that cup there, Mitch.
I didn't say me.
Just to continue on though, joking aside though, I feel that Anderzz has put a lot of work not only in all the stats that he puts in for the team and picking up those numbers for Fnatic, but I think we like Boaster talked about it, the server time that he put in for Fnatic to find all like these lineup from boombots so that players like Durka could actually be just comfortable of knowing the routes that he needed to do. For example, again on Fracture where they dominated Vision Strikers like 13-6. So I think he puts in a lot of work outside of the stats as well, and is going to be like an incredible addition to any roster that is in looking for that. And we say that there's a scarcity in coaches, but I mean, now that you have Anderzz and you have Mike's and you have Tanny, like there's still a lot of coaches that are around that are looking for a place, and I'm still trying to figure out what we need here from these organizations.
There's a difference? Serious question here. I love all those guys, right? All those guys you reeled off are like people that I really appreciate and, would have a drink with 100%. Are we valuing them higher than like an average pro player being coached by them might value them? Like, take a moment here. Let's be serious. Do we have some sort of bias, or, having not worked with them in that capacity, do you think we might be overvaluing what these guys can bring?
It depends on the player. It's like, look at it in a more common scenario. Is therapy worth going to? Should you go to therapy? Depends who you ask. But of course, yeah, I'm with you. But there's going to be people we can get on that go, nah, I'm not sure, man. I don't know. There's always going to be people with different opinions. And some players will think, hey, I don't need that. I can do that all myself. Some players like that. Someone like Boaster. I doubt Boaster would be happy if someone said, hey, sit back, I'll get you all your lineups. He'll be like, no, I want to find them. He has fun in that sort of, in the pursuit of the perfect lineup, more so than just knowing it. And so I think the value that they bring is very much dependent on the team. The same reason you'll see coaches join teams and bounce around trying to find the right home. You don't fit it. Like, you can't just pick any of us up, jump us in a household and go, you belong here now. It ain't gonna work that way. Sometimes you don't work well with people. So I think that the overall, though, the vast majority of players appreciate the value a coach and analyst brings. At least from like conversations I have with other coaches and analysts, they seem to reciprocate the fact that they feel valued, at least those that put the work in.
I believe that there's layers that are still needed in terms of like the coaching staff behind a team to help a team succeed, right? So Anderzz and Mike's, for example, would be perfect in their role currently to, figure out how certain teams play and how you could potentially anti-strat them, or figure out how you build like these pieces for the team that you're working for to do the type of executions that should technically win the rounds for you, right? But I still feel that you're potentially missing a player's development coach. So if somebody that's going to be in there that's going to say, like, for example, let's take, for example, Raucus here with Sentinels. Shazam doesn't want anybody else coaching Sentinels players unless they're an ex-pro player. So if you are an ex-pro player that could teach Shazam how to play Sova a little bit better, or if you have somebody else that's going to teach how you could play a Sage a little bit better, and it's a player or a coach that the players could rely on, that's perfect. I think they need to add that on top of that. And we've seen also the importance of psychology coaches, when ACEND was talking about it, right, in their interview in the end. So I don't think that we should stuff all those responsibilities for one coach into all of those roles, and that if Anderzz and Mike's were specifically into the strategy, they'd do great. But if you're asking more from them, that's where you need to bring more expertise into the organization. And I feel that's probably the next step that organizations should do if they want to maintain or stay at the top.
And let's not forget that, the main person that ACEND shouted out when they won was their mental coach.
That's it.
They found that particularly useful.
That's the word I was looking for. Mental.
For me, that increases the stock, in my opinion, because I haven't worked with a mental coach. I probably fucking should. I've got like personality defects galore. Maybe I should fucking talk to someone.
We all.
I'm just like, I'm a complex of complexes. What can I say? But, that maybe, that increases my opinion of like, obviously David Denny's situation's a little bit specific because he's head coach and also, mental coach. But hey, if players are saying this is really fucking important to us, then I haven't been under a mental coach. So I will listen to them and go, right, well, you have a lot more experience in this topic than I do. So, okay, fair enough.
Which, by the way, the 100 Thieves, Edward, the mental coach, just parted ways with 100 Thieves as well today.
Right. Okay. So, interesting. That's all right. Because let's keep talking about 100 Thieves. I like this. They've just promoted Jovi, who was their analyst. No, actually, we'll talk about this first. Nitro is fucking leaving. Hello. Potentially back to Liquid CSGO from what we heard. So first of all, guy's a dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want to talk about how hard it is to keep up with a rapidly changing game in general. Try adding your fucking kid, who I'm telling you right now, his missus ain't gonna fucking be, sat there like, oh yeah, I'll look after the kid all day. You go and, you go and potentially earn money. You know what I mean? No, I can understand it. Maybe like if CS is like less of a rapidly changing game, you could argue that, maybe not mechanically, but you might be able to juggle other commitments a little bit more with a game like that, which may require a little bit less sort of strategic sort of time in the tank. as
Mhm.
opposed to keeping yourself sharp and keeping yourself current with the game that's not changing too much. So, I mean, I'm sat here, mate. I'm thinking, fuck, when did I last play video games? I think I played Final Fantasy for 40 minutes yesterday. And that's it in the last 3 days. And I fucking love playing video games, guys. I love it.
That's
It's
why
not-
I'm playing
it's not an
Minesweeper.
option.
Because I can't commit myself to like 2-3 hour sessions to be like, oh fuck, man, like I can't develop the storyline. I might play a bit of Minesweeper. Just one
The
more.
other thing you got to
Minesweeper.
remember, outside of comfort, just outside of just comfort, rather in the game, it's also financially. The context of Nitro leaving Team Liquid before, they shot down massively once he left. They haven't gotten back, or they've gotten vaguely close to where he was when they left. But even then, they were on a downward turn. Nitro's years on that roster towards the end, 2019 was some of the best Liquid has ever had. And then you turn around and he leaves, team goes to shit. They're a middling top 10 team right now, if anything, in CS. I think that they might have turned back and went, shit, we need you, bro. Like, and if Team Liquid decide they need someone or they want someone back, they are going to pay a lot of money. Team Liquid is stacked. And I think
feel you have
for
the
CS
opposite.
especially, they'll pay more than the Valorworks would.
Wait, go Veg.
Yeah.
You think the opposite? Why?
Because we've already spent a lot of money for 100 Thieves onto Liquid to bring him into Valorant, right? To play for 100 Thieves.
Sure.
And then a year later, where they don't have maybe after winning First Strike, they haven't had that many results, any good results, besides like the late run into what was it, like Iceland, if I'm not mistaken. And then you get into the part where he's maybe not enjoying the game anymore. So do you go back to Team Liquid, where Team Liquid is going to be like, oh, wait, you want to come back? Actually, we'll pay you less to come back if you actually want to make the switch back into Counter-Strike, because he also wants
they
to
need him
play with the
more, though.
Liege, right? He also wants to play with the Liege. So like Team
Yeah, but-
Liquid overall
Yeah, but
has
Elise
that.
wants to play with him.
If you see the
That's
potential
another
of
fault.
Valorant in the coming years, why would you pay them less? I thought you'd want to incentivize someone to leave a game that ostensibly has a more bright outlook, at least in the maybe
Yeah,
the
but is
longer term.
Is it a personal choice that he wants to go back to CS though? It's probably not Team Liquid that's trying to poach him back.
I think it's I don't think it's a black and white like this is the choice, because I think it's just a bunch of things. Like when he was in CS, when he was on Team Liquid, they were #1 in the world. They were doing fantastic. They had a little bit of a hiccup, nothing that they hadn't had before. He leaves the team, that team goes to shit. So Team Liquid are like, okay, Nitro leaves, team falls apart. We're like making top 8 performances at best, when previously we were the best in the world. Nitro then is not having that much success in Valorant, and that's going to be frustrating for a guy like him coming off that Liquid spree in CS. Things start to fall off a little bit here. You're kind of like, oh, what do I want to do coming into next year? Maybe contracts are being renegotiated, or your buyout starts to really drop off, whatever it is. And then maybe Team Liquid, who are, as far as I understand, I don't really keep tabs on CS so much, but I think they're rebuilding their roster as we speak, right? So they turn around, they're like, shit, we need new players. Who's reliable and made us a #1 team last time? Hey, Nitro. And then he sat there going, you know what? Yeah, Valorant's not had that much success for me, and I can jump back to CS, gonna be more comfortable, and we can be #1 again. We can build this from the ground. I think it's especially the fact that he'd get to go back and play with the Liege potentially. I really think that that's what's going to end up happening, and I think that it makes a lot of sense. It's in every aspect for Nitro, provided that's how things went down. That's how I see it, though.
And also, I forgot that Elijah is also like part investor at Team Liquid right now. So maybe that's
Yeah, he's like, guys, I'm paying you. You pay my boy. Come on.
come, bro.
Mr.
You come.
Jablanovsky, fucking moneybags Swiggy.
Oh yeah.
Also, I mean, it was mentioned. I think Typho points out as well that Liquid actually dropped like Stewie Fallen, like what, 4 players. Grim,
Stewie, Fallen,
Grim.
and Grim. So yeah,
So-
they're gone. But
That's-
which also you look back again at the potential of what could Team Liquid CSGO become after, right? Because that's Elige, Nitro, potentially OC, and like a bunch of like prospects. I think going into this one, OC is like one of those up and comer, or has finally become an established opera for the scene. So it's potentially a good move where if Nitro's looking for success in esports again, if he didn't get it after First Strike, then potentially he could get it back there.
Yeah, and if he goes back, he'd also be in like, honestly, it's a dream scenario, playing with 2 players that you've experienced with that you know are solid, and then having the choice of like, by the way, on the bench we got Fallen, we got Stewie as well.
Oh no,
we
they got
can
Naf
bring
and
them out
Shocks,
if you
bro.
want, or we
Yeah.
can go and get 2 other players to build your roster. If he's given that kind of agreement, fuck the money. Like that would be like, oh shit, I can build the perfect team fresh start in CS, if he's not liking Valorant so much anymore, not happy with the success he's had, and thinks he can jump back and just get it in CS, I don't see why he wouldn't do that.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. We obviously we sit here and there's no conclusive answer, but I think we have to sort of explore all the possibilities with some of these decisions because ostensibly they look really strange. Like this one, just like this fucking, excuse me. Oh, it feels good.
See you later, Frost.
See ya, mate. All right, so yeah, Jovi's obviously been announced to be taking over. He was the analyst, I think, previously for 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
Now being moved to the head coach position. This is the exact promotion that people like Mike's, people like Anderzz will potentially, I get it, that's speculating, potentially looking for, right? It's nice to see this, right? That, you know, this progression is possible. And if I'm not mistaken, obviously, you know, Jovi probably brings a little bit more expertise, a little bit more in the weeds knowledge than Frost did, as someone who, as far as I could tell, was definitely more operating on the managerial and also being really nasty to other managerial entities role.
Well, actually, behind the scenes, I feel that Frost has actually put a lot of work into like strat wise, and when we're talking about earlier on when I was talking about like player development and stuff like that too, actually he puts that into it. And I feel also Jovi was also under the wing of Frost going into where Jovi is now. And Jovi also potentially still has what it takes to still compete in like, you know, tier 2, tier 1.5 or whatnot to be like an IGL. So I think now you have that experience to go into 100 Thieves. Great as a head coach. I just don't know now that does Jovi have like that pedigree to be able to drive other like big names such as like Elige, sorry, not Elige. I'm talking about Ethan and Hiko here at this point. If his words will come through, and if that could develop, and you have a star player in Asuna, is Jovi going to be able to lead all that? That's the biggest test more than anything else. Once Jovi now comes into the head coach for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a feeling he'll be a different flavor of head coach than Frost was. I also like, I think that whole nonsense with the, you know, the servers and the lag and the delay just tanked my opinion of Frost as well. But like, I just haven't, from people that I trust who've dealt with him personally, it's just like, it's not good news. It's not a good rap sheet for the guy. So, well, we'll see what he gets up to in the future. Yeah, Jovi obviously moving to head coach. So 100 Thieves really in flux, especially with this whole 7 situation. Will he, won't he go? And you know, we're still having already departed, and that team sort of, you know, looking to try and make something happen in the absence of Nitro. So this real spicy roster moves probably don't start happening till the new year in that regard. We're just getting the sort of the tip of the iceberg, so to speak.
I just want to give like as much like positive vibes to Jovi as possible, because I feel like at that point going to 2022, he's got so much fucking weight on his shoulders to try to carry that, and to all these changes that just happened with, you know, Steel, Frost, and Nitro, and having to quote unquote rebuild into the 100 Thieves. Who are they going to pick up? Is it going to mesh out? What's going to happen? Is Hiko going to pop off now into Jovi? As Jovi's been the one that's been also helping out finding all these lineups with the darts too. So there's a lot on the line that drives with Jovi, and I hope that it pays off for 2022.
Okay. Let's move on, and we touched this last week, so we don't need to spend too much time on it. But yeah, it's official. Patiphan is joining the Los Angeles Gladiators. So
4 years.
Yeah, so he made his first appearance playing in the Overwatch World Cup, which is a really cool event, and it's kind of a shame that we don't maybe see it more from other games, just as like an exhibition, right? No one took it that seriously, but you know, BlizzCon it's basically a big fucking exhibition where people get asked if they have phones. So, you know, to have you know, to have like a World Cup, it's fun, right? It doesn't mean that much. It's also a really great opportunity for like to lowball casters, but that's another story. Patiphan,
everything's an opportunity to lowball casters if you think about it.
Yeah, see, yeah, that's true. The Overwatch is utopian by comparison to Valorant, though. I'm just going to be very honest with you about that.
Okay.
As someone who's been in both scenarios, but it's like it's literal like fairies are lighting in the palm of my fucking hand and sprinkling me with Tinkerbell dust. That's the Overwatch one. Whereas in Valorant, it's literally just like I'm holding my hand out for Waylon Roselle to shit in it, and then I'm expected to exfoliate with it. That's that experience.
Which is a good thing, right? Because in Thailand you could take baths with elephants, and then you could exfoliate your skin with the doo-doo water that they have there.
Sure, yeah. If you want to, if you want to, or maybe you're told to, if you're if you work with Riot. I don't really know how it works, but
I like it.
Oh,
Patiphan was he
Ooh.
burst onto the scene as like a cracked DPS player during the Overwatch World Cup for Team Thailand. Obviously alongside Mickey, who went on to become a celebrity in Thailand for his Overwatch play, and was on the Dallas Fuel for a while in the Overwatch League. So obviously we can talk to his X10 performance, because I think this guy's pretty insane. The fact that he can do so well in Valorant and make the switch over. This guy was a bit of a force of nature at times on this team.
Yeah. The easiest thing to say, or shortest thing to say for me about this is, unfortunately, a big loss for the SEA region and just for Valorant in general. I kind of wish he would have stayed, but when he's going to be able to make the move to the States and get a better salary as well than what he would probably get in an SEA team for Valorant, then cool. Unless like later on it turns into, hey, a North American team's going to pick him up for Valorant because he's already there. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. And you know what, guys? It could also get him a visa.
That's what I'm saying.
A visa to be in the United States that could then be transferred to another organization. I'm pretty sure like the bare minimum salary for Overwatch League players, as is stipulated, I think is 60 grand a year, which when your housing and food is taken care of, that is
a lot.
Pretty fucking good. Yeah. It's the equivalent. It's closer to like, I don't know, 80, 85, maybe even more with food taken care of. So it's really good. And yeah, here's the trick, right? This is what I say to casters. Like if you want to, there are so many casters not from NA that want to freelance in NA. And I tell them the trick is to get someone to sponsor your visa to be there, whether it's like Blizzard or whatever, right? And then you can transfer it to an agent that's based in the US, and then all of a sudden you can do whatever the fuck you want. Yep. So this could be strategic. Patiphan obviously has a chance to live in the US, which is obviously, quite a enticing prospect, I'm sure, for many people that haven't experienced US. Those that have maybe think otherwise. But I don't think it's hard to sort of see why you would do this. It just has nothing to do with which is a better game at all. I think not a fucking thing.
No, it's
your opinion. Sorry.
Yeah,
no, we won't go there.
I'm here all morning, bitch.
Food on the table. I think is important here.
Oh dear. Anyway, good luck to him. Here's an interesting one. I love the translation on this. Sorry, that was Bobby Kotick banging my door down. Let's talk about this next bit of news, which is CrazyRacoon changes. Now, this is translated from Japanese. Japanese has verbs at the end of sentences and such, if you're aware of that, and it's complicated to try and
Wait, you tell me the one entire that's shortened on the top, right? It's not one line that translates to 3 paragraphs.
Yes.
It is yes. You have to understand.
It's cropped. Okay, cool.
Okay.
I was sorry. That was about to blow my mind if that was how like those few
it's
things.
Like 4 characters is like 2 pages of
like fucking Tolkien's novel.
Kanji is very efficient. There's kanji mixed in there with hiragana, and that's like kanji can mean a lot of things. Like people's name can be spelt sometimes with like 1 or 2 kanji, and it can mean like babbling brook in a moonlight haze with a monkey swinging on a rope or whatever. So it's quite profound language. Yeah, I really encourage people to check it out. But anyway, we are pleased to inform you.
And then you put in Google
Scarlet...
Translate, says Dan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. To be fair, Western names in Japanese in katakana are already fucked. They don't have a lot of like the sounds that we have. But point is here, Munchkin and Scarlet have been. We are pleased to inform you that Scarlet has been withdrawn. So these 2 players, of course, are stepping aside from CrazyRacoon. And going on to other things. Munchkin, obviously, player that hails from South Korea, previously in Overwatch League Pro as well. But I mean, this team was pretty disappointing, underwhelming. I'd say we talked about the teams that we felt that had really leveled up going into champions. This is not one of them.
No.
Yeah, I think there's that, but they also had probably better results than like the Zeta Division or like the what's the other Japanese team? Northeption, exactly. So I still think that they have like a pretty good roster for that too, to make an impact in their own regions. But I also feel that I heard that there was a potential like influx of investments going into Valorant in Korea. So I don't know if that could be maybe another reason why where you don't negotiate for like a longer contract too for Munchkin, where he has a chance to go back into Korea to play for like a super team, because we all know that outside of Vision Strikers, there's some moves that are happening right now, right? I think there was like an announcement of Solo joining as a coach for an org that I haven't heard of yet from Korea. So who knows? I think this is more on an individual basis for them to go back and play with other teammates from their region than the negotiation of continuing with
fans. They won 7 rounds against Team
Yeah.
Secret and got eliminated.
That's more where I'm like, they did better, but better than Zeta, sure, at the Masters. But it's like saying I did better in the ring against Conor McGregor than Jose Aldo because I screamed and ran away for 20 seconds and then got knocked out. They still
I think
knocked the fuck out. Like they
I
got
agree.
ruined.
I agree, but it's still the same conversation that you would have with like teams from SEA or teams from, like, for example, Brazil, where, you know, at the international stage, it's not quite there yet, but within their own region, they're always going to be securing a spot, right? And when you secure a spot, that's sponsorship deals, that's salaries, that's a fan base that's guaranteed in your region. So your own branding actually grows from that too. So there's that to put into consideration, because let's face it, you think that if there's going to be a roster or a super team that comes out from Japan anytime soon, that they're going to be like the #1 team in Valorant in the next year? Potentially not. Potentially not from everything else that we've seen, right? So you have to take that side of the coin.
Yeah,
You guys want to know a really do you guys want to know a really fun one? A really fun roster move. You guys ready for this?
I'm ready.
Go for
I
it.
want you just to prepare yourselves. Pyth from G2 prior. Before that, NIPE Counter-Strike is going to Bleed Esports. Well-known organization from SEA.
Who is Bleak Esports?
I don't know.
Excuse me? I have some fucking respect, fans, silly.
Are they from Overwatch? Are you about to tell us they're from Overwatch?
Fuck no. Bleed Esports is a team that is based in Singapore. Currently featuring such well-known players as Lexi, Juicy, Darion, First Love, and Lenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's
you
a
know,
big roster to move to SEA for.
Yeah. Well, you know, guys, like sometimes if you can't really find a team in like Europe to be like the best, then you have a potential to at least be the best team in a certain region, you know, so it helps your brand. You get to build. Yeah, I don't know.
You're trying so hard. I really appreciate you trying there, bro.
Even
really
Vans can't fucking do it, chat. Even he can't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's not pretty at all. I don't want to be rude at all. Nothing against you, brother. No idea who Maxi is. Not a good look for Pyth moving to SEA with another Swede who has no history in Valorant. First time I've heard of him was in the announcement. So not only that, moving on to a 6-man roster as far as I understand, but there is a 7th currently listed on loan. So actively, Pyth has joined a 7-man roster in SEA. Which I didn't have a lighter, but I have a candle. Let's pretend it's lit for him because we fucking need to have a little vigil for this man. Jesus, what a fall off. I mean, look, he can potentially. I've said it. I said it about going to Brazil originally. It was like, just go there and get a free slot, right? Just cruise in. Fuck it. Let's move to Japan at this point. That would have made more sense. SEA is still kind of stacked, kind of difficult to make it through. But hey, I guess it's cool to live in Singapore. It'll look pretty
yeah,
sweet.
he's relocating. I think he's going to stay in Sweden until January. Now, I think Singapore is really nice.
Yeah,
It's a sweet place. I'd like to move to Singapore. It's expensive.
You just can't chew gum in the streets.
What?
Yeah, you're not allowed to chew gum in the streets in Singapore. You get ticketed.
Like, what
because
happened?
people throw out their gums. If you spit on the floor, if you smoke cigarettes and you flick on the streets, you get ticketed for that stuff. They keep their cities
that's just
super
littering.
clean.
So they've just said, no, fuck you. You can't eat anymore. Well, you let have a sandwich with a wrapper.
Chew
What if
gum.
you just throw that?
You can't chew
Surely
gum,
you just enforce littering, put more bins up, and then
gum is banned. Not okay. So here's the thing, though. Somebody in chat said, "Oh, Pyth probably got like the bag, right? Being able to." There you go. See.
I mean, maybe
It's been illegal since '92.
What?
I told you, I'm not joking around when it's banned.
You can get nicotine gum.
Exception for therapeutic.
Which you need a note from your doctor
you got a
or
license for that
pharmacist.
gum, sir?
Well,
Sir.
Yeah, right here. I have my COVID. I have my COVID shots, and I have my fucking dental gum. Vaccination passports. Anyways,
tackled on the street.
I can walk down the fucking.
Pulling out my juicy fruities, get fucking clothesline.
Everyone just ducks for cover and the SWAT team just fucking
Oh
nails
my
you.
God.
Take him down! It's spraying. What? Some guy with an Odin gets out the back of the thing. Drop it! Like, what the fuck? Who proposed that bill and who passed it? You know
Listen,
what I mean? Like,
It's passed. It's passed.
bro, I stepped on some gum today. Let's fucking ban it. Let's just get rid of this shit. Like,
But-
it's the only
Like, it's
solution.
like if you step on gum, it's like you've stepped on a landmine. You've got to stand there on the
Sure.
street.
You're
because
fucked.
Someone will
You're fucked.
think
You
it's
can't move.
yours.
Yeah.
If you fucking move and they see that string of gum at the bottom of your shoe,
Exactly,
mate,
you're
you're getting
fucked.
crash tackled
You
by a
leave your
Giga
shoe.
Chad.
You leave your shoe. Just start hopping away on 1 foot.
They'll never know.
Anyways, somebody in chat was saying, "Yo, Pyth probably got the bag right to be able to play for this team in Singapore." I don't think those salaries are high already. We talked about that in previous shows for one, and to bring in like an international talent, I think it's more on the possibility of making it to, you know what, now that I think about it, and we'll talk about it later, you know the skins and stuff like that too, if there's a possibility that skins could come into 2022, let's say for Masters, if there's already any type of discussions between orgs and Riot for that, and then Pyth might have like some sort of chances of making out to that master stage and gets a little bit more out of his contract, then great. But outside of that, I don't think that his contract's that high to be able to like, I think he, quote unquote, is affordable. They didn't pay him that much for it because I don't think they have that money for it. Because even if you're looking at their Twitter page, which is GG Bleed that we saw earlier on, their banner says bleed.gg. So I went over on the internet and I went on to bleed.gg and I have a GoDaddy website about literal dental radiators, dental surgery, skin cancer treatment. So it's like, hey, you could always buy this
And shit
domain
about
for
gum on there.
GoDaddy.com. So it does not exist. They don't have, I don't feel that they have funding as this org.
They
And
made
to
some
like,
okay money this year. From what I'm seeing, they played or like these players. It says their total winnings is $12.8K, which, considering Stage 3 Challengers 1 is the first thing that's on record, seems to be some okay money in SEA with all the like $500 events here and there. There's
Yeah, I
some that
guess.
just like don't have any prize money listed. SEA Esports Championship, I think it's $1,000 or something. But yeah, it seems to be okay money, but it's not gonna be.
Yeah.
Dude's not getting paid like
No.
Well,
anywhere
here's-
near what he was in European orgs. Like this guy was with NIP when I've heard it from Pyth a lot. He was on NIP and they were
Yeah.
#1 in the world when he left. And they went to shit. We've all heard.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you've talked to Pyth, you've heard the stories.
Didn't he
He's very
join
proud of that. Why
team
wouldn't you be?
alongside Draken when they sort of got rid of like Exist and Get Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
around then.
CS, yeah.
Yeah.
And now he's in SEA playing for Bleed Esports, which again, I will say this: Pyth is a lovely guy, and I really
Yes,
hope
agreed,
I
agreed.
genuinely do hope he succeeds. I hope he dominates SEA. Right, you know, I hope we see him at international events because he's nicked their slot. But ooh, man, that's a big move. Moving to
My
Singapore.
last silver lining about this, the positive aspect for Pyth is, let's think
Okay.
about, again, I'm taking hockey as an example because it's the only sport that I follow when I watch. But like if a hockey player has reached sort of like his peak in the NHL and then he goes to play in the KHL,
In Singapore,
and
yeah.
and whatever, and yeah, exactly, right. At least he's going to be able to still compete and continue to hone his skills if he doesn't have those opportunities in Europe right now. So hopefully that continues to be like, okay, well, Pyth, he's found his form again. Maybe he come back into the NHL later on, which is going to be joining a European team or a North American team to have better chances to compete within the VCTs. We see the same thing in basketballs. Players going to play in China and then they come back and play in the NBA. So I feel that could be a good route for Pyth just to make sure that he stays fresh and stays with the meta too, right? Because if you're not playing at all, then there's no point. Like you won't evolve. So I think this is still a good move in a sense, if that's the only move that he's got left, you know?
Yeah, look, it's fine. It's fine. Honestly,
Yeah,
like
of course.
the chance to like live in a different country while you're young, and you know, get paid ostensibly a salary to do it is, you know, that's fine. You know what I mean? The guy's still young, but I'm very interested to see how he expects this to really level up his game personally. When, you know, I think that outside of teams like Team Secret and stuff like that, there might be limited opportunities to really go up against high quality opposition on a regular basis. But it's fine.
Yeah.
Like we've seen this
X10,
before. Like
Secret.
orgs with a bit of money bring over, you know, like players that are, you know, have some degree of fame, but that doesn't explain this other Swede. That doesn't. I have
Maxi?
no
True.
idea.
Well, I think that's probably like, hey,
It's
this is a guy I have
Prodigy.
a lot
I know
of
what it
faith
is. It's
in.
Prodigy fucking. I know what these cunts do. They probably shopped them as a package deal. The agency.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know.
Could be. To me, like, it reminds me of the Bondic situation, but it's a little bit better. Because from what I understand, in Singapore they speak English, right? I know they speak a few different languages,
thank
but I
God,
think
yes,
yes.
English. Yeah.
they're going to be very proficient. Now, would they?
Singaporeans are the fucking best. They speak English better than
Yeah,
most
everything,
English
right?
speakers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But so like yeah, them speaking that should be okay. Whereas like when Bondic went over to Tyloo, I don't know if you guys have heard that story, but it was just like he was
Yes.
just drunk one night and signed a contract and was like, I'm going to China. It's like the most fucking random thing I've ever heard. It's just like,
Yeah.
apparently I'm going China now. Goodbye. It's like, oh, okay, cool. You speak Chinese? No. Like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, like at least they're going to speak English for him. That's an upside as well. But man, I mean, I will also say, I wonder like to what aspect of it he's like, maybe I can learn from them. Maybe like scrimming amongst SEA
That's what I'm saying.
might genuinely teach you a couple things you can bring back to Europe in a year or so. That was
Mhm.
a big move. I really respect the balls to move that far.
And
do
Maxi's
something.
not a prospect, really. He's 27, so.
He's sorry. Okay, my
Sorry.
assumption was that he's like 18,
Yeah, no,
16,
he's-
or
So what-
well, not going to Singapore.
Why don't we know about this person in any other
27?
game?
Just
Like,
CSGO.
I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with someone who's 27 years old trying to fucking make it in Valorant. That's
not at
that's
all.
fine, but
More power to you.
why? You're 27 and I still don't know about you. You know what I mean?
So he played for Gray. I'm seeing on his Twitter here, Greyface, Orbit, and Denial. So he played in
Orbit
the
was probably
States
the
as
biggest
well.
one. Yeah.
So he'd be moving around a little bit too.
Well, he probably
I
didn't
mean,
get
look,
paid for
man-
being on denial.
That just speaks to hunger, right? To hunger and drive. So that's what we want to see. Man, I'd love to see
Oh,
them
man.
succeed over there. Any kind of player making that much of a jump, moving regions, because it's going to affect everything. The food that you've got, the culture, like you're going to be
If anything,
so.
They
uncomfortable
bleed
in comparison
competition.
at home.
They bleed competition.
Okay.
There you
Thanks,
go.
fans. Fuck you.
There you go.
All right.
Hopefully you don't bleed
Let's
money.
talk about something coming out of the Latin America region, or Brazil more specifically. Sacy is a free agent. The Sacy that fucking dragged his team kicking and screaming
Mhm.
through their matches at Champions has decided that perhaps it's time for a change. This article here, ladies and gentlemen, is translated, so not great, but for those of you listening at home, it's an article that indicates that a team known as Loud has managed to win a bidding war for Sacy. So
Yeah.
that's sort of, this is an early report.
And this- From today,
Right.
3 hours ago.
Right.
So, so basically, Sacy becomes a free agent. He was getting some offers from NIP now that they're moving to Brazil. And speaking of moving to Brazil, there's also Main in Brazil that's trying to make an entry into Valorant as well. That's not so they're not going to use the Immortal brand. It's just going to be MIBR. They were also in talks with Sacy to try to pick him up amongst other teams to try to create this super team in Brazil. Now, Loud is apparently an organization that came out in 2019, and nobody really knows about them, but they're much, 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 quote-unquote, louder than FaZe or 100 Thieves, because I was reading through, they have like YouTube videos that has surpassed 1 billion views. So they actually do have a lot of influence in that region for Brazil, because they come to support more like the mobile games, is what I heard of, because in Brazil we can't really afford PCs as well, just like in Southeast Asia. So mobile games are super popular. They have an esports and lifestyle type of like image, so they want to like try to promote a lot of these new up and coming younger generations and craft them into like pro gamers. And now they're trying to make a step into Valorant, and it seems as though all of that and helping with social media for these players for Brazil seems to be the deal that Sacy wants.
Fuck me. The guys have 1.3 million followers on Twitter.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
It's
I'm
the
saying.
complete package as well. Not just the followers, because it's financially. I think Portuguese, Brazilian followers are not going to do you like nearly as well as the North Americans, as the Europeans.
Hey, they'll
for,
get
like, any
rulings
sort of
changed
targeted
in
advertising and
esports
stuff.
tournaments, though, so that's pretty sweet.
Hey, ain't that true? But yeah, no, I think he's the complete package, taking his social media following out of the equation, because he is a fantastic player and he's someone that does very well in interviews. When you stick him in any sort of content scenario in his second language, so I can only imagine in Portuguese he's even better. He's even more witty and funny and all that sort of stuff. So I think any team will be delighted to have him, and with the success they've had on the international stage, he has so much leverage in every conversation. It's not a question of which team wants him. It's which team can fucking afford him at this point. There's going to be a bidding war going on in a couple weeks. I guarantee it.
They definitely got to a point where now they could make the step into esports. I feel with this loud organization, with all the followings that they have, like a lot of people are digesting a lot of content that was coming out from Loud, which is probably why they have that influx of money that allows for them to compete into like potentially Valorant, League of Legends, or whatnot in the end. But yeah, I think this is going to be a good move. Owner, for example, from Crew Esports, the ex-coach, is potentially moving into that roster as well as the head coach for Loud with Sacy. So things are going to be looking good for this super team in Brazil.
Okay, and Starhawk's on his team as well. It's
correct.
Sacy,
Rumors are
Aspas, a guy called Les, and Pancada, and then Starhawk. So interesting.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
might be something there. And of course Owner, who, you know, say what you will about him. All right, lightning round, motherfuckers. We're running out of time, so let's go through the next of these really quickly. First of all, Zachary announced that he's parting way with FaZe Clan. He's going to be a restricted free agent. He's still under contract with them, and FaZe look to pick up Tealseam as a potential academy roster, so not their main roster. Mudda also looking at exploring some other options, and Andbox is rebuilding. Obviously, they got rid of Alex. They're bringing Harmful on. 10-star brings XMS, ex-Counter-Strike player, French player, of course, on that Envy rebuild after they lost the super team there with, God knows who, Body and Alex and shit. The Guard, obviously, have finalized their team with Sire player on the roster with Valen, Net, Sam, and Jonah P. Anything else? Yes. So this one here is... Okay, this is Giants gets rid of David P and Ambi. They get rid of them. Now it's Russ, obviously from Supermassive Blaze, Monster, Quick is Alive, and Jesse Valorant. So fair enough. CNED looking to re-sign with Ascend here. This is what sources are indicating to us. Obviously, people wondering that 100 Thieves is going to pick him up. You're fucking dreaming.
No,
Cloud9, of course, has announced their academy team, including Poise, Urcast, who I believe is Australian. And Ren's on this team. So
she is.
We would have never fucking finished.
Saved him at last.
Oh fuck, there's more.
Yep. So this one here, Rhyme gets brought onto Gen G.
Yeah.
So this is a European player, right?
Yep.
Huh. Do you know about him, Mitch?
Oh, I know a lot about Rhyme. Yeah, we've had him on the VCT broadcast as well. Great dude. Cannot speak highly enough of him, both professionally and personally. So also he's from the best region in the world, so great fucking pickup.
All right, next fucking topic.
Maybe
Let's
y'all
go.
can do something now.
Yeah.
Also G2, by the way, has finalized their roster. So Mixwell, Avova, Nokia, Hoodie, and Meadow get picked up for this team. Hoodie from Giants, obviously, and obviously Meadow, who we wondered what they'd be doing with him. So interesting change there. We'll talk about that later. I guess we'll cover that.
It's not a good trade. Not a good trade at all. Putting Hoodie into that nothing against Hoodie, but you've lost a lot more than you've gained. I'll say that. The surface. How
did Carlos end up on the wrong end of that trade? Well, more about that at 6. Let's talk about Yoru. Yoru. Finally getting a bit of love. I mean, the guy is pretty fucking. Obviously, his lore is great, but this character not really hitting the mark. Van Sacy, our resident expert on really bleeding edge sort of meta shifts with, agents getting upgraded.
Trying to.
Yeah. Talk to me.
Probably not going to be picked still. I believe it's still not going to be enough. I think Sky's still going to be too strong. You're still going to have a lot of more value with KO, for example, versus like a fake out that it doesn't really matter. I mean, yeah, you could do fake teleports, but I don't know if that's going to do much, especially now with Chamber that's out in the VCTs for 2022. I feel that could be a more impactful agent than what Yoru could bring in terms of impactful, even like aggressive type of angles. So yeah, nice try. But I think I'm hoping for more. Not I think, I'm hoping for more so that we could see more getting picked out of this agent.
Riot really wants him to be someone, guys, who propagates misinformation. That is what they want Yoru to do. But misinformation depends on how information is interpreted or whether it's even fucking received at all.
Yeah.
How do you make a concept like this work?
He's going to be, I feel like for us, he's Caveira in Siege. In the early days, the fact that he's going to be someone that in ranked and matchmaking fucks up your day, like big time, because your team is like, you're just going to get shot in the back, dude. He's going to go through A completely, kill you on B, and your teammates would be like, "Oh, I didn't hear him teleport." But when it comes to ranked or competitive play, when it comes to team play, I think it can be kind of interesting in the current. Very niche. It's the kind of thing that we'll still see probably as pick rate increase slightly as more teams are tempted to go for it, but it's going to be a very particular kind of team that picks him. You're not going to have the top teams coming out and pulling this out in anything short of a grand final.
And I still think you're pigeonholing him to bind, for example, more than anything in any other match,
Sure.
right? Maybe fracture, maybe fracture.
A breeze, maybe. It could be valuable there, but
Like, why
I
is he pigeonholed to those maps?
Because of the teleporters. Because right now the fake footsteps they could throw through
Definitely more
teleporters
valuable,
could
yeah.
maybe help, right? But for example, what Mitch is saying with Breeze, if I'm going to try to do fake footsteps towards Breeze out in the open of the A site, I'm not going to see any players, but I'm hear something.
Very true.
It doesn't help, right? Especially
It's
in
like
ranked
elbow
when we
holes,
use a
that's
bug
it.
cam still. But yeah, I feel that's not gonna help out in those cases. And even if you want to try to throw a fake the fake gate crash, right? Because you don't have to teleport with that anymore. Yeah, you'll do an audible sound, but what does that do? To be honest, right? You're gonna have to try, like, especially let's take bind, where it's gonna be like his strongest map, where we've seen some players already use him, such as Tens, with his dimensional drift and the shorty stuff, right? Now, if I'm gonna try to throw a gate crash and try to fake a teleport into the B site, there's no way for me to travel the orb around so that I could get to elbow into the back site, where potentially I'm pulling defenders off the B site to look in the back to make sure to see if Yoru teleported there or not, right? He just does a gate crash. It's a fake within the site. I turn around. I don't see anybody there. Yeah, fuck it. I think it's still not well, yeah, it's still useless as
I mean,
as
you
a
can
way
dimension, you can gate crash inside Dimension Rift, right?
Yeah, but like your dimensional drift is going to come every fucking 7 rounds, or like you're going to have to try to get kills with it first. I don't think people are getting much value out of Yoru as a duelist to entry on top of that, so that's going to make it already difficult in itself to build out the ult points. So I believe that the kit in itself it's nice that we've gotten these buffs. It could maybe have some good like combination of the fake out and the teleporters on and the gate crash, sorry, with the teleporters on bind, but I don't think it's that good enough as an agent that's going to create that misinformation that you want to give to your opponents.
Okay. Also, Yoru's impact is going to vary so drastically across ranked rating, because at low ranked rating, what people do with information, or if they can even perceive it, is vastly different to what people do at Radiant. You know what I mean? There's so many assumptions that are just not made. You might be more effective at higher rank rating than at lower, because people don't really play off info at all. They just fucking peek the corner and try and shoot the person in the foot before they get blown up. So, not that
talking
I've heard. I've heard about it.
or what's up?
Yeah,
I've heard things about what happens in silver. You know what I mean? It's kind of fucking wild out there, apparently. All right, break time. All right, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what next year holds for Valorant in 2022. Of course, that is the year that follows the current year. When we talk about the plans for the VCT and the rest of the circuit built around it, we're going to be having Bacon, one of Team Liquid's analysts, coming on board. So
hell yeah.
I look forward to that. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Valoranting, the last episode for the year. Pretty insane that we managed to make it this far without getting fired or cancelled or removed from esports forcibly. We have a lot to look forward to next year. We've been spending a lot of time looking fondly back on the season that has been, but I want to, gentlemen, if you don't mind, change tact a little bit and have a look at next year. And I want to get some, obviously a slightly broader range of opinions just on the formatting and how that sort of looks. So we're bringing on the show for the very first time. Please, everybody, welcome Bacon, analyst from Team Liquid, here onto the show. What's going on, mate? Thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet you all. This is cool for me because Mitch gave me my first ever shout out on broadcast, and Vance helped me with my first ever video. So this is pretty cool for me.
Hell yeah.
And of course,
Full
Uber
circle.
trained you as a ventriloquist. So
Of course,
really,
yeah.
really, we've got all three huge contributors.
Obviously, thanks for coming on. Sometimes we find, Bacon, that support staff and analysts are less front-facing individuals on a team. So for those that maybe don't know you, tell us a bit about your history, how long you've been with Liquid, sort of what your day-to-day looks like, because I'm sure a lot of people want to find out how things work over there.
Okay, well, so in terms of history, it's pretty short. Liquid is my first ever esports team, like ever, not even an amateur team. So kind of, so yeah, it's kind of a short
Big
history there.
steps.
Yeah, it's from nowhere to
Could be worse.
liquid.
You could have gone to Singapore, so that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it could have. And so I joined in the run up to Iceland. So whatever that challenges name thing was, it's got a long name, but whatever that run was so my first game was the Ricks game that we lost. So that was pretty cool. And then like every game after that I've been on. So
Nice.
so basically since Yampi's been on the team, I've been around in some sorts, and then my role has sort of progressed naturally because I got the job through having a relationship with Siggy, and so as his trust levels in me increased, been having more and more responsibility, and now my responsibilities are basically whatever Sliggy wants done, I do. So that can be like find a lineup, I'll watch scrims, I'll do stats and scrims, I'll sit after scrims with some of the players with some direct things, whether that's just, helping like with Nabil, getting Nabil up to speed, sorry, Navarre, getting Navarre up to speed with like things with the game, or running a specific setup, or we having an issue with one specific thing, and we need some of the ideas for the next day's server time. I will help prep that, and then just sort of messaging Siggy at the end of the day and being like, "Yo, what needs to be done for tomorrow? Let me prepare that for you," and basically freeing up the genius to do genius things, and I'll do all the boring grunt work maybe.
What?
The legwork, yeah.
Yeah.
What got you into that position in the first place? I know you said you had a personal relationship with Sliggy, but I more so mean from an intention perspective. Like Sliggy didn't just turn around one day to one of his friends and go, "Hey, do you want to do some analysis work?" Like, what were you looking to do originally, and what brought you to team, but not necessarily Team Liquid, but to Valorant in particular?
So I've always had a interest in esports. Like I just watched it for fun. I'm actually awful at video games. Like I've got no natural ability whatsoever. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Uber.
I can relate.
Yeah, okay,
I can relate a lot to you, all three of you probably. So
Fuck.
Yeah, there you go. Fuck you, Mitch, man.
Mortal, dude. What the hell? It's coming after me, dude. I'm not insecure about
that's
it.
easy when you get carried every game. So
there you go.
Oh,
One trick Odin.
So I basically I would just hang around in like streams and watch it for personal enjoyment. I've been watching CS since I was 12, like pretty much religiously, and then I'm 22 now, so a while. And I was just hanging around Siggy's stream, talking, like discussing Valorant, and he made me mods, and I just was like, "Yo, I'll make this for you," because it was COVID times. I was pretty bored. I was like, "Oh, I'll just make a lineup document for you and have everything ready." And he was like, "Yo, that's cool." And I was like, "Do you want anything else?" And he was like, No, it's okay. And I just kept asking because I had a relationship which I could talk to him, and I was like, "Well, fuck it. I'm just gonna message him until he like doesn't respond to me anymore, and then I'll move on." So I was like, "Yo, do you want anything? Do you want anything?" And he's like, No, it's all right." And then finally he was like, "Yeah, you can help me with this anti-strat a little bit. This is what I need." And then I was like, "Oh," just kept messaging him, and he never told me to fuck off. So
Nice.
I just
Nice.
I just
People
moved on.
ask.
So and then it just
You ever thought that he
developed.
might just be too nice, Bacon? You know what I mean? Like nice British guy.
Backfired now, hasn't it? I'm sort of stuck now. I'm signed now, so you can't get rid of me.
I kind of like people ask all the time. We've all heard it. The kind of like, how do you get started in esports? Like, what is the secret recipe to working in esports? I mean, you're living proof of it. Just fucking do something.
Yeah.
Just put the work in,
Just,
put the time in.
I would
do whatever
just
you can.
message. What I would always say with people was just message people. Don't like pester them, but just like send them single message with like proof of work. Don't just come with nothing to offer and be like, how do I get a job? Like no one likes that message. Like come with like something to offer, like what you think. So if you're gonna message a team, message them like an anti-strat of a team they're gonna play, or an anti-strat of themselves, or like some lineups, or just anything that is gonna be you think useful to them. Message them with something to offer, and then leave it. Just but be proactive. Don't just like sit around and like, how do I do it? How do I do it? How do I do it? Like try different shit basically until
Just
something
do it.
works. Someone's gonna respond. So,
Just do it. Which is hilarious because I was gonna say like your picture makes me think of Shia LaBeouf, and then you were just like, just do it. No, I had that meme in my head right now. It's fucking hilarious how it comes like full circle there.
Yeah, with me and my bent nose, just like Shia LaBeouf.
Oh fuck.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes here, or if you will, whatever constitutes an English breakfast.
I mean,
here in 2022,
Mashers and beans.
Yeah, black pudding, some sausages, a bit of bacon. in there.
Black pudding is horrible, by the way.
Yeah, it's
No,
fucking
not.
it's fucking wank, innit?
It's horrible.
No,
Where I live in
listen.
Scotland, you can't tell me black pudding's nice. I have it every meal.
Yeah.
White pudding. White pudding's incredible. On some toast with a little bit of ketchup. Ooh, beautiful. You don't
Wait,
put it
what's
in
in
the
white
toast.
pudding? What's in white pudding?
I think everything but the blood, and then black
Vanilla.
pudding's the
It's
dried
like
blood. I
bones
guess.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
white
fucking
pudding's
what?
beautiful, and black pudding is a little bit more. It's a little bit more of an assault on you, right? If
See,
you with
Yeah,
vinegar.
it's all right.
My
You
black
burn
yeah, you
it,
gotta
like,
burn
good
it.
crisp.
Oh,
my
Yeah,
my,
yeah.
my
yeah.
black pudding is chocolate. My white pudding is vanilla, and that's good enough for me.
Oh no, these are meat. It's a bunch of just meat.
it's-
One animal
It's
is meat.
fucking
That's all
gizzards
you
and
need to know.
shit. Yeah, it's fucking
Yeah.
awful.
Don't
know,
ask
little
what it
fucking-
is. But when you're
Yeah.
giving it
Some
from the time
haggis
you're
from
3
Glasgow.
and you never
It's like
ask
eating
what it is,
Vegemite.
it's pretty good.
Right? Is that Vegemite?
Fucking hell.
Uber? You like Vegemite, right?
Not really, no. But Vegemite's not that bad. It's just savory, right? It's just
Don't like it.
It's just brewer's yeast and vegetable salt. And it's not great. Yeah, I don't go nuts for it. I like sweet in the morning. You know,
Like my culture is like, oh, you want boiled eggs? Have a boiled egg, but like a baby chicken, half like dead in there.
no,
have an embryo.
That's fucked up. Balot,
Yes.
whatever it's called, that's fucked up. That ain't it, chief. That's some fucking weird shit. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, oh fuck. All right, let's put on the schedule. Let's go. Actually, to be fair, Vietnamese cuisine, I've actually had like fermented beef and stuff like that, and like the kind of sauces they use. And yeah, there's a lot of fermentation with their foods for whatever reason. But
Yep.
some of it's pretty fucking good. But the 2022 VCT, something related to that in some way that I'll find a
Yeah.
bridge in just a second, but you guys will forget because we're going to talk about the topic. Quite a few announcements have been sort of made, I guess. Here's the schedule, right? We don't have the voiceover to talk through, but I think there are some pretty crucial changes, right? First of all, challenges kicking off pretty early on. April's going to be our first Masters event. And again, we'll have challenges sort of weaved in here. So if you just take a superficial look at it, guys, it looks pretty similar actually to this year, except maybe with, champions a little bit earlier on in the story here, and game changers obviously, throughout. But in reality, there's some fairly key changes, I feel,
Yeah.
right? Especially
Yeah.
with the substrata to challenges. Before that, it was like challenges was open, right? You'd get on the Nerd Street Gamers website and you'd get in like 250 team bracket or whatever, and you just throw yourselves at your opponents until you sort of made it through. But now there's a little bit more.
Well, I mean, it's still like that. the first round is still going to be that, and I feel so. I also think that, if I'm not mistaken, 2022 is also region depending on how the circuit's going to run down, just like how it was in 2021. So if I look at if you look at the whole calendar overall, though, yes, it's the same months and the same challengers and stuff like that to get the champions.
Superficially, yes.
Yeah, but there's all these Valorant regional leagues. I think that's the new one that comes out that's going to be slightly different from places to places.
Yeah, the VRLs. I would have loved to hear that video with Uber just trying to do the voiceover the whole time, just like off the cuff. And then in April it will be. That would have been enjoyable. Let's do that for the
But it has
late
to
ones.
do.
What? Go back? It's like just like confusing as hell. Just like, wait, repeat that, please. I'm confused. I'm lost in the middle of it.
Do you remember the original explainer video they released for like the stage 1 format? It was like halfway through stage 1. They were like, a lot of you are confused. Here's the video. It was like 2 minutes, and I remember finishing it going, I'm more confused now. He said words I've never heard before. The Valorant Champions Tour qualifier, open qualifier, stage 3, part 2. It was
Because
like,
there was champions, and then challenges was part of the Valorant Champions Tour. But it wasn't champions, it was challenges, and there was masters as well. And then like you got different amount of points from each masters, and that would impact how you did. And you actually got some points from getting first in challenges as well.
So,
And just but you didn't get any in challenges too. Challenges when you did, then it was.
But we have circuit points this year as well, so let's not forget that. So yeah,
It's even more confusing now. With
there's a
everything.
lot of layers.
That's good.
There's a
only
lot
2
of
masters,
layers.
so it's a little
Have you guys
bit
seen
easier.
the fucking flow chart that showed how teams could qualify for champions? That was quite impressive to me, especially because it had to be printed on like a gigantic the side of a truck.
Yeah.
It was an impressive feat the way that they were able to filter all the regions down. But Vans, there's like some NA specific stuff, right?
Yeah.
Some NA specific scheduling.
So my understanding for NA is that you start with open qualifiers on the last weekend of January, which is like January 27th to the 30th. And then after you get through that, there's like a number of teams. So it's an open bracket once again of like 128 teams. And then I think it's like 12 teams that head into a main event, which is going to be like a mini season, right? So you're playing now like 7 weeks or something like that from Feb 11th to March 27th. And then from there, it determines the teams that will make it. Yeah, right? And then from there, you get into the season play, and then that allows you to get into playoffs to determine the representatives for Masters. So I don't think that it's similar to the one in EMEA, right? Yeah. You start with
Okay, you know what? If you're anything like me and just didn't fucking listen to anything Van said, there's a video that explains it. Mitch loves these explainer videos, so check this out.
Next year's Challengers will adopt a new format designed to be more consistent for pros and more exciting for fans. Each Challenger split kicks off with one open qualifier that will lead into multiple weeks of league-style play between the best teams in the region. It all culminates with a big tournament to crown the winner. Special thanks to all of you who gave us great feedback that helped us evolve Challengers into something more fun to watch.
Crucially, Challengers has open qualifiers, and then you have league play, right? Which is something that we haven't seen in Valorant before. And I think this was addressing a complaint from players who said that the gap between Challengers was too fucking long. Or like there was a bunch of qualifiers that didn't feel like they meant anything.
There were different metas as well. You literally had a situation where you would play one qualifier with a certain meta, the next with a different agent or a new map, or so it was obscene.
This doesn't solve it, right?
Yeah,
that's like unless you qualify, you're in the same spot and you don't play until May.
Because that's exactly it. So that's why I thought I'm thinking that EMEA is slightly different because of this VRL,
EMEA
right?
Is massively different. Yes.
Yeah, right. So, but then for NA, you're kind of fucked. Exactly to what Bacon was saying, because if you don't qualify into stage 1, into that mini season, you have to wait till next fucking stage. You can't play until stage 2.
It's literally in May. You have to wait till play. So you'll play January 27th, lose, and then you're out.
So
it can't be a double elim. It has to be more. It has to, like, it literally has to be like a triple
open qualifier. Can't
it's
be
open qualifier, man.
I know, but it's fucking insane, dude. Imagine
it's single elim to 12 teams. That's what I'm saying. This is where it's fucked. So compared to this year when we had stage 1, you at least had like 2 open qualifiers or whatever into like, okay, those that didn't make it could actually get a buy into the next qualifiers and the next challengers or whatever. But this time it's like a one or done. So let's say you are Sentinels and you have a rough start actually at the beginning of the year because they've had a cold start to 2021. So if they don't make it into the top 12 for this one, they can't play till May. So is there going to be anything else to support them?
What if there's a new team without a core 3? They're going to get void seeding. And for example, literally the guard. You could literally have them against Sentinels round 1. It's possible. Within the rule set, within the seeding set, that is possible. You lose one of those 2 teams for an entire stage. What?
Correct.
Oh, I don't like that.
The format isn't released right yet, so it could be BO1 as well for the first couple of rounds.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
It's true. It's 128, right?
It's true.
128. It's true. They want to broadcast some of them. They're not going to do BO3s.
Well, it's over the course of 4 days. So yes, you can't really do BO. Well, yeah, you could kind of do BO3s.
4 days you can do BO3s.
It's 7 rounds, right?
It's going to be
6
close.
or 7 rounds.
I honestly don't think they would.
I think they'll do triple BO3 first day, maybe.
Because you're only playing to 12 teams, which means you play like what 3 or 4 rounds. So you don't have to play out because I don't think you're playing for seeding at this point, right?
I think they're good. I think you're easily good, but because you don't play to the grand final, you lose a lot of that.
It could, but that would imply there's logic. Decision making sometimes.
Nonetheless, that doesn't matter. BO3 or BO1s, it's still fucked for every team that's trying to qualify into stage 1 right now.
In fairness, guys, there is more below challenges than there used to be, right? That there is a fucking we'll talk about actually later on, but there's going to be more, around challenges and ways to get into challenges and stuff below that may or may not be worthwhile.
That's the end of the year.
That's not North America, though, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't
So
apply for NA.
correct.
Oh,
The
that's
VRLs
true.
are just for EU right now,
Yeah.
from my understanding. Which
Oh.
Yeah,
means
for the initial
NA,
rollout.
it's like a do or die kind of thing.
You're fucked then if you don't. If you
Yeah,
That's
fuck
what I'm
with
saying.
you don't
Yeah, you
play
are.
till May.
Yeah.
That's
You'll
what
play
I'm saying.
January 27th, and you won't play till May 12th, I think.
So
It's
you
gonna be the
start,
highest pressure game of any to open the year as well.
of course.
Ooh, that's the
with,
highest
with
pressure
all
game
the
of any
roster
player's
changes, all the
life.
pressures coming on right now into
And
year
new
year
meta.
one
That's
or year
genuinely, you have an open qualifier against teams you can't prep for, and I legitimately think the pressure to qualify is greater than the pressure to perform in a Masters, because at least you're at the fucking Masters. At least if you go out, you're like, oh, we lost to a team that's sick. You know, we lost to one of the best in the world. Like if you get round 1, round 2, fucking round 4, even in an open qualifier where you can't prep for any of the teams, where some of the seeding might leave a very good team in front of you, you're done for 4 months or 3 months, whatever it is. It's a long time.
look, somebody in chat. Somebody in chat was saying, look, they're
unreal.
Yeah.
God.
So, somebody in chat said there are some teams that are going to get invited. It makes sense, right? Because if you go 12 teams in a main event, maybe if you want to do a season of like 16 teams, maybe 4 teams are invited. But the 4 teams that are invited, let's say they're going to focus on the people that made it to champions. So you're already thinking about 3 teams. So Envy, Cloud9, Sentinels. Your 4th team, who's that going to be? Right? Somebody who's invested a lot of money into a roster, for example, like TSM, 100 Thieves, The Guard, or anybody else right now, where they actually will not, potentially might not be able to qualify into the 12 teams, and you can't play until May. How can organizations want to invest more money to keep a team together until that long in North America? So I don't know what type of feedback that was heard for them to come out with this type of circuit, because there's nothing to support them.
What about if they ran a tournament beforehand that you could play in to get
What
auto
about they just ran
qualified?
the EU system in NA?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good,
You know what?
that's a good idea.
You know what,
too,
Bacon?
right?
Great fucking point. Let's look at this video that explains how
You know what?
EMEA
Sometimes
works.
it works.
The objective of superior region. Check this out.
Every journey begins with a single step, and our brand new Valorant regional circuits are that first step. A series of local tournaments accessible to everybody, where you can prove your worth and begin your journey into Valorant Esports. From there, we've got the Valorant regional leagues and game changers, competitions where our top players compete and hone their skills, inspiring fans and creating memorable moments along the way. Then the best and the best, the truly elite, battle it out in the Valorant Champions Tour, facing off against the greatest teams and players across the world. The VCT is the pinnacle of FPS esports in EMEA, and has produced some incredibly hyped moments this year.
Our boy Danny. Danny!
Right.
I know Ringham, but I'll
Is that guy an Aussie?
What?
Is he Aussie?
I think he's South African.
Huh.
I couldn't say
nice.
100% though. Could be
Fuck
Aussie.
Right.
Might be
He
Aussie.
wants
Yeah,
to
I mean,
try
we are not that-
explaining this.
Yeah, he's
then.
Aussie, isn't he?
All right,
Aren't
so-
they the same thing, Uber?
Perish.
So obviously, this is like a Europe. Is this a Europe only thing? The VRL
Yes.
Yeah.
and the VCS, whatever the fuck that is. This is just Europe. Yeah.
Yes.
I think
So,
yeah.
we had a
What I
whole meeting
understand.
with Riot about this. We had to sit down. They explained the system to a bunch of us from EMEA, and essentially, you're gonna have as you saw in the timeline before, you'll have your open qualifiers, you'll have your closed qualifiers, you'll have your VCT as it is, and you'll have a league below it, which is sort of supposed to serve as a feeder. So as time goes on, the objective of the league, as far as I understand, is that VRL will be where teams from VCT get relegated down, and it'll kind of be the feeder into VCT. It's how you'll get there. Instead of open qualifiers, you'll have to go through some sort of qualifiers for VRL to make it into that league, play a season of that, and then make it up further. So it's starting to really add some structure and some support for tier 2 and tier 3, which I think is the other league I can't even remember the name of.
VRC.
There's VRC. There was very little information given to us about that because it didn't really pertain to us. But essentially, that would be like the amateur level to promote, like whether it's countries or whether it's just EMEA altogether, but promote those amateur players, college players, all that sort of stuff to go to the VRL to then try to qualify for the VCT, and that's kind of the vision of the system. It's pretty nice. Yeah, it has everything covered, right? And then there's a bunch of all the third parties and all that sort of stuff going on in between. So just to get more play on as many levels as possible.
And game changes is obviously included in that
Yes.
the VRL slot as well. Now, We still have game changes.
No, I
for
think
NA,
game
I'm
right?
not
changes
sure
is
it's in the
entirely
VRL.
separate to VRL. It's
Yeah.
The
nothing so.
tiering, the tiering, I think, is the same.
so-
right?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. It's about the same tier. Sure.
Like
They won't
game
clash.
changes goes into their own like masters thing,
Correct,
and then
correct,
it's like
correct.
goes into like their own channel.
World
In the
Finals.
game
I don't think
changes
it's
circuit,
like
Yeah,
I don't think
it's a
they're
separate league.
interconnected.
All
But
right.
yeah, it's confusing, I will say.
Here's some more info about the VCT EMEA, which is already way more fleshed out than NA. We'll talk about that in a sec, but here you go. Here's some more deets for you.
In Stage 1, the 4 teams from EMEA who participated in Champions this year will be invited back to the VCT. There are also 8 qualifying slots up for grabs through 2 open and closed qualifiers starting January 10. Those 8 slots are split out as follows: 4 slots for teams from Europe, 2 for teams from Turkey, and 2 from teams from CIS, with players from MENA able to take part in their choice of qualifying events. In Stage 2, teams will qualify for the VCT through a promotion tournament, where the winners of the 8 VRLs in Stage 1 will face off against the bottom 2 VCT teams, competing for the 2 slots on the line. The teams that don't qualify for the VCT Stage 2 will then compete in a VRL. Ultimately, this means that you can expect more competition between the best teams, meaning more hype and spicier matchups.
It's the Valorant Relegation League, not the regional league. Let's just be clear on that. Interesting how the composition of challenges could just change completely. Like, you know, it's 4 EU, 2 Turkey, 2 CIS, but with that sort of that promotion and relegation system, that proportion can completely change. So in EU, we have our 4 teams already auto qualify for Challengers 1. So it is 12 slots, 4 teams auto qualifying.
Yeah, that's one for me.
Yeah, yep. But I don't recall seeing very many NA teams in the top echelons of champions. I would even question that maybe they don't all deserve to auto qualify, but that's up for debate.
Barely saw them at Champions.
There has to be a plan to do something similar in NA, right, Vance? Like, it hasn't been announced.
I'm hoping that's going to be the case, which is why, like I said before, like speculating if you're inviting like 3 teams, for example, the 3 teams that made the champions, but it's still unfair. And I think another thing about looking at like I think it's unfair for the players is what I'm saying. The circuit doesn't seem to fit it too well in terms of how do you support the players and the teams that don't make it outside the first week of 2022, which is the last week of January. You don't play that. You don't qualify. You're fucked till May.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
I think there's a genuine argument on one hand of like you don't need to actively support top teams that don't qualify to your challengers. Sure, if there is some sort of way to, you know, reasonably prove the best teams will make it through those open qualifiers. But as we discussed, if it's single elim, single BL1, loss of fuck off for 4 months, then all of a sudden it's like, well, it's not so much saying, oh, our job isn't to support the teams. It's like, it's to give them a fair fucking shot of having a living. You can't just turn around and be like, well done on making it to champions, or well, not the champions teams.
It's also
but the last masters, and now you're unemployed.
Yeah,
it's like disincentivizes orgs investing, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's such a high risk, and it's like,
pay these players how
why
much
would
money?
you invest if you've got that much risk, and then like you've got a 3-month period after their contract where they're sat there, and then you've got like and then 1 day of playtime. Like that's it.
Because I feel like
there's like
orgs
12 teams anyway, right? In
Exactly.
NA, you got like Genji or like all these teams that are still like big orgs. They've got big paychecks. There's at least more than 12 of them in NA.
There's nothing you can do, man, because like pretty much every single contract will have like at least 3 months where that player, if you bench them, they're being salaried.
Yeah.
And so,
well, you'd hope so at least.
Well, okay. If yours,
for me,
hello, other players. If yours does not contain 3 months, please speak to an agent. Uber said Prodigy Agency would be a good call. If you like Singapore, we can get you shipped. But so there's
Jesus Christ. But okay, yes, it makes sense. Like, okay, protecting the players from the clauses, whatever, 3 months, but that is not going to help. Again, looking from an investor's perspective, from
it's
an
going to
org.
hurt.
If
it's
I'm
going
going
to
to
fuck you up.
Exactly. If I'm going to put so much money, for example, again, 100 Thieves, in a big salary for a high-end caliber team, but they're not able to qualify, let's say, in speculating that in 2022, then that's money out the window. And there's not going to be any type of like impressions about 100 Thieves, about that roster, except from streaming until May when they're ready to qualify for that.
I think
let's put a number, right? Let's say you salary a team of 5. Let's say you're a pretty high echelon team, but you're not already through to challengers. Oh, what are we gonna say? I'm gonna be very, very.
Oh my god!
You okay, Mitch? You okay, bro?
I mean, I'm in Southern California. What can I say?
Let's say you're paying the players $5K a month, right? So we're lowballing here. Imagine they're getting a lot more than that. But let's say it's $5K a month. So you're paying 25K for your players. And yeah, what do you have? You got a coach, you got a manager, might have some sort of mental coach that's coming in to consult and stuff. But let's leave all that out.
a month.
Let's say
analyst if you're really big balling.
Let's say it's you need one. You need one, right?
You know, sometimes.
They're obviously paid 10 times as much as the players. That's
of course,
completely industry standard, as Liquid know well now.
Thank you.
No problem at all. So like all of a sudden you are paying over 100K for what could potentially be
a month.
Just think about it. But no. Like, but across the 3-month period, if you're paying 45K, let's say, for your roster, that is a lot of money across those 3, maybe 4 months, the 3 months that you have to salary them for. Imagine they play one day, they lose one BO3 even, they're out. And now you have all of VCT going on. So it's not like there's another league that you can throw them into. There's not going to be big tournaments in that time because big tournaments avoid the VCT time on purpose. So now you're spending 150K across 3 months for these players to just sit there and do
content
nothing.
creation.
And what you get is a single open qualifier stream where your team lost. Or
and
like
your team might not even be fucking streamed, by the way, because it's 120 teams.
Can we just agree that at bare fucking minimum, North America needs to have something else than what they have announced?
Of course.
Bare
of course. You have to have it.
What is this about? This should be added later. Like, I understand that maybe they don't have the people on the ground to like deliver, but NA has more tournament organizers by and large than EU, at least a comparable amount, right? I guess in the day of like the Blast and the Wii plays and stuff like that, but you know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me if there's a lack of white label tournament organizers, that might be more Riot's fault for their fucking RFP documents looking like kind of shit. I can tell you from personal experience that they do, in fact, look kind of shit. And these RFP documents generally indicate that they want a tournament organizer to shoulder the responsibility of challenges and game changes in NA. So obviously that's a fair bit, but there was no mention in these 2022 RFP documents published by Riot Games of anything like a VRL or a VCS. So I worry about that. If they're not even trying to ask teams, organizations to pitch something like a VRL or a VCS, that we would even see it this year. This is a good way to, how do I put this lightly? Fuck a region up. You know, at a time when they're already kind of behind the 8 ball. I think we can all agree after their performance in Germany.
Yeah. That I agree. I think, like I said, I feel like at this point, because we're bringing up all these points of like the amount of money that you're investing in an org, 4 to 3 months that could be potentially lost if you don't qualify into like this mini season. It's potentially now orgs pulling out of the VCTs or just Valorant in general until they're going to be like, oh, franchise guaranteed to be in? Sure, cool. But if not, any type of like, I think this fucks like as much as it does for smaller orgs and bigger orgs if there's really nothing to support them outside of that first week of qualifiers. So I'm hoping that there's going to be something that's going to come out that explains a little bit more. That's going to be like, oh shit, like we forgot to, we omitted talking about this, where if you don't qualify, there's still this. Great. Right? But if not, fuck. It's going to be a tough spot. So
we can agree that it's not good for NA, right? We're all
not
on the same
good,
page
not
there.
good, not good, not good.
NA needs all the help it can get, so it's
fuck you.
not good.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
And I think
that's the best part.
With Vance's point about franchising, this is sort of like a soft introduction that we can see of, well, it's pretty hard, I would say, actually, of franchising towards it. Like, it's pretty obvious with like the 7 weeks tournament of the main event, which is kind of like a league, and then you've got leagues under the EU style, which like all you then need to do is put a league on top of it, and then it's just a simple promotion
but I mean,
like style there,
the
which it
end.
kind of is already, because once you're in the first challenges, only the bottom two drop out. So
Correct.
like
You
that's
go to
kind of like
relegation.
how the
Yeah.
Premier League works anyway, right? You got 2 teams relegate, 2 teams promoted, so that's like a league system kind of
Even-
vibe
It's
anyway.
not. That's not like the antonym of franchise leagues in esports is relegation.
Exactly.
It's the exact opposite of what franchise is about. People buy the spots so they don't get fucking booted out here.
Exactly. So don't. Which is why Overwatch League, for example, puts all that money in, because even if you're fucking dead last and you're 0-26, that Shanghai Dragons team is still going to be there next season, right? You don't get relegated.
And there are a fair few teams that are very close to profitable, if not already profitable. There are like 4 or 5 that their owners are bitching about the situation, but they just suck at making money. So that's that's the way it goes.
I think because there's only like 2 relegation spots once you've made the challenges, and like the champs teams 4 were already invited. If you come 2 out of 12, like that's pretty generous, I would say, on the relegation side.
Yeah, but any chance that you could get relegated is going to give.
It's
not good for the
risk,
org.
sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say again, and I don't wish that upon for you guys, but let's say it is Team Liquid that's going to be relegated, right? If that's going to be the case, everybody's going to fucking be like up in arms to be like, no fucking way, they don't want to be relegated at this point, right? So you want to make sure that your brand is there and exposed.
You automatically go into the relegation promotion league, then there's another tournament. So like once you're in, like you have to come bottom 2, then you have to
shit the bed.
Then you have to not win the relegation. Top 2 of the relegation promotion tournament go. So I think like
same as ESEA,
it's a lot closer to franchising than we were before, where it's like one tournament, then you go, and then like one tournament, then you go. Like there's
I think
continuation.
It's good, though.
I think
it's like there's structure there. It promotes teams sticking together longer as well. Like not having these random ass shuffles of, oh, we lost to like a top 5 team. Fuck, let's drop 2 players. And then like, to me, it's the foundations being laid for something that can be a robust system in the future, which I'm a big fan of. I think from what I heard in the meetings that we had talking about how the year would go, I was very impressed with the steps being taken. I think this here being one of them.
Yeah, for EMEA,
it's laying the foundation.
Yeah. The thing is, though, for me, okay, so I have two parts in this question. The first one, since we're looking at this image, let's talk about that right now then. Because now you have like these regional qualifiers with the VRL that goes into the bottom 2 for the relegations. But now that you're seeing that, for example, it's going to be Spain or MENA or whatnot, do you have to now have a team that is majority composed of a French team, a team that's majority composed of a Spanish team? How does that work exactly?
So there's a bit of drama, not drama, but there's like each has its own little section and different rule set. So it's you would need a PhD to like understand all of the different rule sets and everything within it. From what I understand, the common one is 2 out of 5. This becomes complicated because then there's like, what happens if you have 6? Then is it 2 out of 6 or is it 3 out of 6? Then there's a lot of different rules. I think Germany changed it to 1 out of 5. I'm not entirely sure.
What?
There's some weirdness.
1 out of 5 players have to be German in the German league.
Maybe it's 2 out of 6. There's some weirdness going on.
Now, do they have to play, or they do a 6-man roster where the 6th player
each one has its own rule set because they're all done by different organizers, and then each one is like not entirely out at the minute, and they're still trying to figure everything out.
They're probably also trying to figure out
the most common is 2 out of 5.
Look, you have to understand, guys, that like this is Europe, right? Where like you get a lot of cross pollination between these borders, so you have to be fairly flexible.
I think that's why.
I mean, IDEX is a perfect example of that. He's a Belgian player living in Spain.
You say
so like,
that,
it's like, what is his like? Is he? I think what the rule set is, if you have to be living in a country for 13 months of residence. So I think he would count as both almost. I'm not like, there's like different rules for different, like, obviously, because like everyone's human, right? There's like, you're not just a German player. Like probably there's loads of German players that live in France and stuff. So what counts as what is
I think it's also
confusing. I think
it's very important to have that cross pollination, in my opinion, because I've worked ESL Meisterschaft. I worked whatever the
I've been there.
Ski League is, and the level of, I don't think anything good has ever. Considering the amount of investment put into them, I don't think it has ever paid off in a nearly tangible way. I think it's a terrible
You didn't love
system.
watching Planet Key Dynamics play Counter-Strike?
No, oddly enough, I didn't. Unicorns of Love weren't one of my favorite teams of all time in CS.
Great name, though.
Like, DAC is the only one that's kind of decent, but then again, that has Swiss, it has Austria, it has, what's the other one? We all said it earlier. It's Austria, I usually forget. Switzerland, Germany, I think is in there.
Yeah, DIC.
The big one.
So yeah, the big. I forgot the big one.
Great question. ACEND would have to play in East because they have 2 Polish players, right?
Yeah, that's it. Well,
this is another thing. Like,
they're not
if
allowed
you
to play
have multiple categories, can you choose? Like, I'm not entirely sure. Like,
as far as I'm aware, VRL that's supposed to be a lower level though, so I'm not sure that
it would.
VCT players will be allowed.
Challenges.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if they dropped out of challenges, they would have to. Like, if they came bottom 2 of challenges, then they would, and then lost the promotional tournament, then they would have to play in the.
So that's why I was asking about like the players and stuff like that too, and especially for example for Germany, if it's only 1 player, if you bring 1 player in from Germany, but it's still going to be like, well, it's not that great, but we need a German player, so let's just bench him and create the 5 players that we need.
So that's like the 2 out of 6 rule. Like, do you have to have the player playing, or like what counts as a player playing? 1 map, like
1 map, 1 match, 1 series.
Maps,
exactly.
Like,
so there's a lot of confusion in that. I believe that when you're looking at the system of like 5 players or at least 3, it goes back to like my days of World Cyber Games or ESWC, where that actually worked out, but it was only for like a one-off event. It was never a team that was going to be a super team for the longest time, unless it was a Swedish team, of course, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But if not, people are just plugging it out usually to do these. But that's one thing. So to keep an eye out on that to see what the rule set is going to be around the region to region, because that's 10 regions, right? For all of these, 8 regions. Sorry. Now my other thing's been about 8. So we talk about the 8 teams in the qualifiers and the spots that are available, right? So we have 4 teams from Europe, 2 from Turkey, and 2 from CIS. Correct?
Yes.
Is that fair? Shouldn't it just be like the 8 best teams in the EMEA?
I mean, that's how they've always done it.
They have to do it that way because of paying the kind of CIS teams playing against UK teams. Just like if someone's on 100 ping, or teams are on like close to 100. So yeah, it's just the way it's divided up, sadly, because we can't do LAN events for a big enough region. I know you guys do it in America. You guys love like East versus West, right? Those things happen. You end up with like coaches shouting about fucking server ping or whatever the fuck.
Unnamed coaches.
Unnamed ex coaches. But yeah, it's the way it's always gone down in EMEA, where unfortunately we have to segment it like that, so Turkey can run their own thing, CIS can run their own thing, EU can run their own thing, and then we meet up for the EMEA Challenger playoffs normally. So I'm not sure what it's going to be called here, but it'll be that same thing.
Ping suddenly doesn't matter anymore.
And we don't. Do we have anything
magically?
Magically.
Yeah, magically it's all solved when you.
Everybody should just live on a fucking island. Let's just put every competitor on an island.
Solution.
Yeah.
Go everyone to Hawaii or something.
Gamers Paradise.
I never got to fucking go. That seemed pretty nice though, I'm not gonna lie. No, to be fair, I knew they were out there. They were under like
Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they'll love me over there, I'm sure.
They'll love us all, yeah.
Yeah. And
okay. So the signups are up soon, by the way. So those that are watching, for VRL in EMEA, the signups are like real soon. So you can actually get involved in that. As we're shown here, January 10th to 12th is where the open qualifier one's going to be, and a week beforehand you can sign up. So EMEA getting pretty nice deal out of this one. I know, and I definitely jealous, especially there are a lot of you dickhead. Oh, there are a lot of teams obviously in NA that are looking for similar opportunities. So hopefully we get some
Mitch
news
is
about
more
that.
smug than me.
Oh.
What? Me? I'm not a smart person. All right,
I think you're literally more smug than me.
I'm a very relaxed.
I haven't even mentioned NA once, and we beat them.
See, you have to be humble. That's the thing. If you do it, you're an asshole.
It's true.
But Mitch is
If
already
we lose,
Mitch
then I look
has
like
to
a
back
biggest
up the
dick in the head.
talk. You know what
Exactly. I'm just a bystander. Either way, I'm just gonna be standing
You
there
can't
smiling.
lose. I will say, with the EMEA system, I think we've already like started to see the benefits. Like I'm hearing like from the tier 2 scene, the tier 3 scene, I'm hearing like a lot more orgs getting involved and stuff. Like without leaking anything, like just like there's a lot. I hear a lot more investment coming in on the smaller side of things, where previously it wasn't such a. the people were hesitating a bit more, and I think like now suddenly with this system and everyone's feeling a bit more comfortable that there will be games and there will be streams, like that the investment is starting to follow.
Yeah.
In my
Yeah,
Okay,
it went there
understanding.
for Europe, but then it just dropped the ball for NA. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
more money for
when
us.
we had all of that last year, and you guys were fucking bitching about like not getting
Honestly,
like get matches stream and shit.
only
I
fair.
think
We
that's
just
why.
We just
I
flip
think
the
that's why you
cards.
guys got it
Yeah,
because
it's only fair.
You know what?
Our
If that's gonna be the
community-
case, I'll fucking tape because you know what happened? Fucking Europe won fucking champions this year. Then if we flip the tables, then NA wins champions this year. Let's. You know what?
Kofi.
Forget.
That's how it works.
Let's scrap the last hour. I'm okay with this
Kofi,
circuit.
man.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, so the thought is that regions rise from destitution to become the best in the world. So now that NA's been put in that position, you think that they're fucked. They're going to be great. Excuse me. Right.
Pitt's gone the wrong way.
Oh.
He went to the wrong time zone.
So let's talk about one of the other announcements in the video. It was regarding game changes, which obviously has been booted up this year in multiple regions. Let's hear what plans are for 2022.
We have got 3 VCT Game Changers events lined up in January, May and September, with teams who succeed in these events qualifying for the Global Game Changers event in November. We are also launching the Game Changers EMEA Academy, a place for new teams and friends to compete in up to 6 tournaments throughout the year.
There we go. So thank you.
That's cool.
Thank you, unknown person who I believe is German based on accent. So this is great. Obviously, we have a schedule as well for game changes, at least in how it's intended to play out here. So March 31st to April 3rd is the open qualifier and the main event in April. So this is staggered out a little bit, right, from the start of challenges. It's not happening at the same time, which I think is good as well. But it does mean that those competing game changes are going to have to wait a little bit longer. But then obviously April 10, the main event, then there's going to be a month off. In fact, almost 2 months really, as we head into sort of June. And then there'll be a third one. So 3 series of game changes. It worked really well. So there will be an international game changers championship in 2022, which is great.
It's dope.
Because everybody wants to know how the regions stack up there. And important to point out as well that sort of as the substrata to Game Changers, Valorant are running the Academy Game Changers tournament. So all of a sudden, you have a multi-tiered international competition for women and marginalized genders that is in process. And, you know, we also did just see the ESL announce something, you know.
Exactly.
I think, it's a little bit complicated because I think they stipulated it's for women. So I don't know how broad.
Yeah, they said for all. I was looking at one of the comments as well. So you're right, Mitch.
But again, that's a tournament organizer, not a dev that's doing it. So credit to them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This needs to happen in Rainbow Six. This needs to happen in Overwatch. This needs to happen in League of Legends. This needs to happen yesterday. Fucking
I know,
yesterday.
like, we've had a lot of conversations around. I haven't been spearheading them because I'm definitely not the person to speak on the issue. But I know that there's been a lot of conversation around how many, like, exactly what the entry definitions for game changers are.
Because in Europe, it got a bit funky, right?
Yeah, it got a little bit shaky, like talking about adding in 2 of any gender and then 3 women. I think like they had to be documented, whereas the other 2 players could be, you know, they couldn't be from VCT as far as I understand. Couldn't be like a signed player, so you couldn't get CNED. A lot of people are like, oh, just throw Nats in there. You know what I mean? You couldn't get those kind of guys, but you could get any player from anywhere, which obviously then pulls into question, well, if you're trying to promote women and marginalized genders, well, then should the players be on? There's a whole debate about it. It's ongoing to try and figure out what the overall best play is. Again, not my area of expertise. Don't want to speak out of ignorance on the topic, but it's definitely something that, from what I've heard, they are very actively looking to solve and find the best solution for everyone on. So I think everybody behind the EMEA Game Changers team has been just fantastic. So invested as well. And I mean, it makes sense because you see the results there immediately as well. Aside from the passion for the content of the actual tournament, there's just been a hell of a lot of viewership for those games. They way exceeded their goals. So it's a huge success.
So to piggyback off what Mitch was saying, when I knew this topic was coming up, I asked around because obviously, you know, not an expert and don't want to just like, you know, spout off nonsense. So I asked around, and one of the athletes that I was talking to identifies as trans, and she said honestly, like, the system was great, and She just
Okay.
said that and identified, and then like there was no problems on that end, and
Good.
it was super great for her. So that was really honestly great to hear.
Yeah.
And then I reached out to Dream, and one of the interesting things that he said on the schedule is that it's before Masters now, which they feel is great because of the patch changes and stuff that comes
Okay.
after Masters normally, and then now they're on the correct patch when they're playing and stuff. So it's not like, you know, oh, we got a week of this random patch and stuff. Like we
They're not
actually
getting
have
shafted,
we're playing on the patch that we've been cracking on and stuff. And it's
Mm-hmm.
great to hear that they've took that feedback and changed the schedule.
That's
Oh,
the
that's
thing.
good.
Like from my experience at EMEA, the people who work on these kind of projects and who shape them are actively looking for feedback. Like they want it to be better. It's why my opinion on VCT as a whole, as a structure, has changed so much since stage 1. Where I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, who designed this? This is
It's my turn now. It's my turn to mold on
convoluted.
fucking NA's VCT,
now you're
man.
losing your
Now
shit,
I'm fucking
but,
Mitch, man.
Back then, like, but even
You
we were
wear
just
this
like,
hat now, Mitch, man.
we were like, there's better ways to do it, or like there's better formats. Why is it so convoluted? And then you start to realize like this is that they want to shape something new, they want to shape something unique, but they also want to shape like the best system. They want it to be the best, and it's something that is kind of growing with care, not just randomly changing here or there. So like having that sort of contact time with these people has shown like how much they care, how much time they put in, and how complicated some of this shit is. Trying to run leagues,
No, for sure.
ain't as easy as it sounds. I'll say that.
Oh, agreed. I'm molding, but it's definitely not a fucking easy task.
Yeah, maybe don't make it so 1v1 eliminates you for 4 months, but what do I know?
Yeah.
So another thing that was sort of teased in this video, and I'd love to get your guys' take on this, because we talked a little bit about Ranked beforehand, and sort of like an alternative to Ranked was the announcement of like a Clash-like system potentially coming to the game. We have video for this as well, so check this out and we'll get your thoughts on the other side.
Also, we know that competition and mastery are a big part of what makes Valorant great. We want it to feel amazing, to shine as a player, and to win as a team, to experience that path to pro and to compete just like they do. We're hard at work on a new feature set that will take your competitive experience even further, from building a team, competing beyond ranked, and securing glory on a bigger stage. We're
Thoughts? Let's go. What do you guys reckon?
Sick.
Sick, yeah, awesome. I mean, first of all, let's make the point that I said behind the scenes. Love the fact that we actually just get these videos. It's like the Valorant devs hold themselves accountable to their audience almost. They come out, they're like, hey, this is the decision we've made. This is why. This is the intention behind it, and they're like just giving you all the reasons. It's like coming from CS, we just get told fucking nothing.
Fucking bizarre,
They're like,
right?
oh, you guys have a big event coming up. That's cute. Here's a fucking sheriff. Oh yeah, one shots people in the air. Yeah, good luck. Good luck 3 days before.
R8.
Like, oh man, the difference in the scenes is actually crazy. But
Oh, we're talking about the R8?
See
Yeah.
people.
The R8. Yeah.
that
Rather
fucking
than
revolver,
a
man.
nameless corporation
Yeah.
with no
Just
responsibility.
behind the shadows. It's being like, here's a new gun. It's broken, but don't worry about it.
Have fun.
Like,
It still gets me very excited for the season for 2022 for Game Changers, especially from like a competitive front from publishers, well, quote unquote publishers, because of exactly what Mitch was talking about before with ESL announcing the $500,000 prize pool, I guess, for the circuit for the quote unquote for all is what they're entitling it, right? For the
taken
circuit
from
for
the body
the
of DreamHack.
Yeah, and now this allows that competition to happen. If Game Changers is only going to be three events throughout the year, 1 month or 2 weeks or whatnot, while ESL has like a full circuit already planned out, because I think one of the tweets came out that showed the whole schedule of the year. Then I want to know, is this going to entice some of the women team that already made the switch? For example, I think of the G2. I'm thinking of the XSET, the Dignitas currently that are playing Valorant that always love Counter-Strike. Are they going to go back to that? Is it going to be a schedule that allows both? What type of competition is Riot going to come out with, or what type of response will Riot come out with to make sure that they keep their player base too on the women's end for Valorant?
I think everyone trusts Riot a lot more than they trust ESL, to be honest. There's even been teams leaving recently with whispers of this sort of league coming up. I've still seen tweets there of female teams being like, "Yeah, fuck it, we're gonna make the jump." There's just nothing here anymore, and I think that if I was faced with, you know, Riot being like, hey, we're going to have a bunch of massive tournaments and then an international LAN at the end of the year, a shit ton of money in there and all this. And then IDSL go, I've got 500K. So what are we thinking?
I mean,
I'm with Riot 100% of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
also, like, do you trust Riot? Like Riot is equivalent to Valve, but ESL is not equivalent to Riot. You know, it's like it's not the same thing.
It's a
like
tournament organizer, not
from
a
Riot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like this is from Riot. Like I've watched CS since I was 12. I can't like, in all my understanding of Valve's and with the women's scene, it is just like hands off. It's
don't
all
care.
up to the TOs and stuff. So
Or
like,
Valve's
some money, do
involvement,
whatever you want.
period.
yeah, like so, like why would you? What is Valve giving you? Like this is from ESL. This isn't from Valve.
Can I
wanna
just
be
point
with
out?
Riot.
We're talking within the last 2 years. There's been female events in CS where they've just had like they tried to get the male teams to play or the main teams to play with curved monitors because they were sponsors, and all the teams were like, no, fuck you, I'm just not playing. So then they just gave them to the female teams, and when they tried to pull the same thing, they just went, I don't fucking care. You know, leave if you want or play with the curved monitor. Not our problem. And so they all have to play with curved monitors. That's just how it goes. Like CS is just a fucking wild west, dude. People do whatever the fuck they want. TOs just they're like, oh look, we've got 200K tournament. But everyone's playing on those, like, you know, those little school chairs like made out of metal with a little wood on the back, and like you're really just squashed into the thing. They're like playing on that with this much desk space, and that's like including a monitor stand. Yeah,
Gotta bring your pillows.
Ludicrous. You gotta bring your pillow. You gotta bring your own fucking fold out desk, mate. It's ridiculous. So I think people are gonna be much more enticed by Riot being like, hey, we're gonna do some shit than ESL.
This has to be this has to be developer back, because like, you know, credit to ESL because they obviously did the IEM women's championship, and now obviously they are trying to make something happen still in Counter-Strike. So if Valve's not going to fucking do it, so at least ESL are trying to do someone. There is, because it's Riot and ESL, and who the fuck else? Literally who else?
Yeah.
On that scale that are trying to do this shit.
That's it.
So follow a $500,000
I would say DreamHack, but ESL bought them.
Say again?
I'd say DreamHack, but ESL bought them.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
DreamHack is just a fucking empty ship at this point. A hull of its former
technically, ESL got acquired by Modern Times Group and also acquired DreamHack. So it's not like ESL bought DreamHack. It's complicated. ESL are owned by this. At least they were owned by this like Scandinavian media giant. So
the brand of DreamHack exists. The name DreamHack exists, right? I think they're going to run like 2 events a year or something, but DreamHack doesn't exist anymore. Like all the people that work there have left. Everybody's just like, are being fired. Like it's just, it is literally a brand now, but it's not DreamHack as you know it. It's like,
and it represents that sort of
Hugo
the BYOC flavor in Europe and elsewhere, right? So that's the kind of point. Don't worry,
I think there's somebody at my door.
Is that you?
Yeah, that's
told you, Vance.
I'll have to be right
back.
Gave
it away.
Right. All right. So while we're here, major sponsor announcement also for VCT is Red Bull, who have announced a 3-year partnership. Guys, this 3 years is a long ass time. That is such a long time. That's longer than broadcast rights deals. That's longer than fuck me. Like no one gets 3-year contracts in this game. I mean, if you sign a 3-year contract to a team, you're kind of dumb. But this is this is a lot of money. I'm going to put it out here right now. They're a signature partner, excuse me. And so they'll be in sort of joint co-marketing programs in North America. The Red Bull Clutch, I guess. I guess that's the same sort of, you know, approach that we had, like the Flawless by Prime Gaming, the Red Bull Clutch in game, right? So they've been able to monetize a Clutch round, which is quite interesting. And there'll be community Valorant tournaments there as well. Riot, yeah, I mean, you know, we talk about how they recoup sort of revenue running something like this, and whether they might not be in a position to do it right now, but large deals like this are part of that. They're not selling broadcast rights, so forget about that. You're not making that's a large chunk of revenue. In fact, that's like the lion's share of revenue in traditional sports products. Is that? I mean, it has to be sponsors. They're not doing it on ticket sales or concessions, now, are they, gentlemen? And the microtransaction sales in the game isn't necessarily going to go anywhere towards the esports program, right? I mean, esports is a marketing. You need to understand esports is a marketing endeavor like anything else. So I don't know, thoughts on that one? Do we have any thoughts? Do we really care?
as a Team Liquid person, I would say I would hope it would be Monster, but we'll move. We'll settle for the inferior product.
Will you
settle
guys
for
be
the
able to
inferior.
have Monster branding on your jerseys at Riot sanctioned LAN events?
Yeah, that is a good question.
They can. However, it's sort of
touch and go, I think.
there was this stage where people would maybe not get interviewed, let's say that, because they would have their Monster on, but I believe that was a
Yampy.
stage 1 thing. Maybe a
Did you ever
stage
do a
2
Yampy interview,
thing.
Mitch?
I did them for Deserto, so it wasn't the same. I
Okay.
never did them for VCT. Why? What's going on there?
Yampy's interviews are quite funny normally.
Oh yeah,
he likes his product placement. Let's put it that way.
Okay, all right. No, he didn't try any of that with me, but we've certainly had some issues with players on the broadcast who are back then there was a massive issue. I think now like Red Bull have started to accept that it's just gonna happen, mate. Like unless you're gonna sponsor all the fucking teams, you know, you're good. They have to have sponsors. They have to have money.
Yeah.
I think Red Bull's
It's also
super cool though.
unrealistic.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, to like
In
buy
either
out
direction.
Liquid sponsorship, it's like for all of their athletes ever, like
Yeah,
and
not
like
gonna happen.
it's the Monster, like you just can't. So
Yeah, there's too much at stake there for both. Like the Liquid org needs that to be shown because they don't want to start taking it off and being selective. You know, they don't want to give that option to every league they work with of, hey, we can give you a jersey without Monster, and Monster's like, we can give you less money. So obviously then on the other hand, for the league, they don't want to be showing Monster, but fuck it, you have to. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. But Red Bull's been super good, and I think the fact that they've signed a 3-year deal for me, that just like we're guaranteed 3 years of esports. So hell yeah. It shows the vision of Riot. Instead of taking it year to year, they're now starting to look at the bigger picture, which again speaks to the success of this wonderful game.
Hopefully the money that they put in for a 3-year deal is going to help for the development of the circuit for NA for VCTs 2022.
Maybe they can afford a second little bracket. I think they call it a double elim. It's been a while.
What about like
you're cursing it here. You're gonna put us on a BO1 schedule or something here.
Sorry.
You're giving it too much.
BO1
like,
round
you're
robin,
actually, like something's gonna happen to get us back here. You're too cocky.
Oh man.
But, have they said anything about like home ground or anything like that, like being a more common thing? Because that would be
they said
really
Red Bull
cool
community tournaments. That's what they said.
Because maybe NA could get thrown one of those, you know?
Yeah.
Throw them something.
No. In the end, even as a player or as an org, they like who wants to not to shit on anybody, but like if I want to join a team to try to win a trophy and try to win the VCTs, if I don't make it through the VCTs and I gotta wait 4 months, the lower tournaments, it's good practice.
Hey, you're
but
talking to a Red Bull home grounds champion here, right? Put some respect.
Completely legitimate and
true.
The highest proud tournament out there. Yeah, I get you.
Thank you.
Nice
format as well, I will say.
Yeah, it kind of sucks for you. Where the fuck do you put that trophy? Kind of that is a centerpiece in your monster facility.
Give it to me. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll put it in my house. I'm not complaining. Oh, that's dirty. Right, produce out here doing the
God damn.
There's a little monster on the right there, so maybe
cropped out.
Should have put that in the like.
Cropped it out.
We don't have a 3D principal presenting sponsor deal. We're fucking chill. Although we're open to them, to be honest with you.
I did just get an Alienware monitor. I'll be honest, nothing else was available, and I was playing on my my laptop's 240 hertz, and my PC at home is 144. So I was like,
we got one of those curved ones for you, Mitch. What do you reckon?
Oh yeah. I can play the whole tournament on it. It's gonna be great.
Not gonna lie, I bought that as well. I do like that mod. I do like the Alienware 240,
nice,
but now it's now become my third monitor.
Maybe you can loan it to the
360.
Maybe.
Hang on.
Maybe.
You said you love it, but now it's your third monitor.
Yeah, it's my monitor on the right now. Because I got this new one that was gifted to me. It's 100.
Man's talking about how like impoverished the NA region was over there, and now he's flexing on his 3 monitors over
there.
My
third monitor is a 240 hertz.
It's not adversity.
My extra monitor is not going to help a fucking team qualify into.
Not in your hands, it's not bans, but let's.
At least I'm not trying to fucking like yell justice when I got a fucking $50,000 NFT. So
that was amazing. Okay, all right. Listen, we're already like 2 hours 15 minutes, by the way, on what's supposed to be a short year. So fucking hell. Bacon,
every time.
Thanks for joining us, mate. Great to have you on the show, man, and all the best with Liquid in 2022, mate.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Pleasure.
Nice to meet you too, man.
Yeah, likewise, Bacon. Nice to finally talk to you, man.
All right. Yeah, you guys. See you later, mate.
Peace.
You boys This happens every fucking time. We got one more topic to cover here on today's show, so let's jump in. Look, the champion skins, right? We kind of know now approximately how much money was raised from the sale of those skins, and it was stipulated that a portion of that would go to teams. Sideshow Gaming with the wrinkly brain does the maths for us. $450,000 per team, and the discussion, gentlemen, is how that split should occur. But I want to start even before asking how the split should occur. Is it not a little funky that Riot makes no stipulation of how that split should happen? Or do you think they shouldn't have to, and that it's up to the teams to decide where this money goes? Thoughts, feelings? Where are we at on this topic?
Up to the teams.
I don't know yet.
Up to the teams.
That's where I'm leaning. I don't know enough about it. I think that Riot dictating how much of it had to go out. I think if they could dictate a minimum, like a 10% min or something, like find out what the specific figure would be that would be considered acceptable by both parties, set it as a minimum. But even then, I think that it should be something that the players negotiate themselves with their organizations. I do genuinely think, though, when this comes up, when this sort of stuff is sprung, exactly as Owner is saying here, they could use a little bit more time to announce it, at least communicate it with the teams instantly. The problem is, organizations, as we've discussed before, have done some of their players dirty by, I've heard multiple stories of organizations saying, hey, when that becomes an issue, we'll talk about it. And then they just use the get out of jail free card of saying, when it actually became relevant, oh, well, yeah, but it doesn't say that in your contract. So we'll negotiate it on the new contract in a year. So then you've potentially another event where you're missing out on, a couple $100K. Which is kind of insane. So I really think that, they're not my stories to tell, but I really think that those organizations should be mindful of the fact that the players did earn them the majority of that. I think like at least 10%, 20% should be going the players' way.
What about these teams from like Latin America, Brazil? This is, this split of money, this is legitimately life-changing money. You know what I mean?
That's what.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, I understand that, it's a bit funky that there's no chance to negotiate this with your teams because they didn't even know this shit was going to fucking exist until Riot sprung it. I think it would be more responsible of Riot if they're going to spring this to stipulate a minimum, right?
Yeah.
I say, you guys want this fucking shit? You guys have
like 20%
minimum amount. Yes.
I don't think any team can make an excuse for not giving 20% to their players unless their players are already cut in on rev for the team of unless they have a general clause like they get 10% of all ad rev and all that sort of stuff. But so there are specific scenarios, but if the team is deemed to not be making any money in any way other than their salary from that sort of situation, from prize money and all that crack, I can't see any reason they shouldn't be getting 20% of it and giving it to the players. I understand that they have to keep the money to pay the players in the future, but at the same time, you wouldn't have earned that if it wasn't for the players. They deserve a cut of it.
But see, so that everything that you guys are saying should then come down to the teams to figure that out, and not with Riot, because at this point, Riot is you don't know what team is going to make it into the Masters or the Champions or whatnot, right? One day it could be Sentinels, one day it could be X10, one day it could be another team. You don't really know. And then at the same time, we talk about the signing bonuses or just salaries in general between players, where some players are probably paid more than others, where incentives and bonuses could probably be negotiated from player to player as well, which is why it's going to be too much of a headache for Riot to say, oh, X person should get 20%, X person should get 5%. That should just be with the organ itself. Now, if the players are still not getting anything out of it, then that is also going to be due to the contract. For example, as you were joking around, Mitch, saying that, hey, if you don't have a 3-month clause in your contract saying that you're not going to get paid while you're bench, well, you should have had something in your clause when you're signing to an org to make sure that if whatsoever, because look, anybody that's made it into Valorant right now probably has followed CSGO, probably knows about CS, probably knows about the majors and the skin too, where that could potentially happen. If we think that Valorant is going to be the baby of Counter-Strike, where we and then the baby of League of Legends, where we might get a franchise and stuff like that too, then you have to think about all those opportunities as well. Now, as an agent, for example, Jérôme of Prodigy Agency, he's already mentioned already that these clauses probably do exist already for players that are under their agency should it come to a point where there's going to be any type of like shared revenue that's available for any type of team org or events that they're gonna be signing for. So yeah, I think it's just one minor thing that unfortunately some of the players, with the game being new, probably didn't pay attention to that because it's their first time being pro. But it's definitely something that gets renegotiated now. Like from now into 2022, any new contract, I'm pretty sure, should have that clause in there, hopefully, understanding how much has been split already for champions.
Sure, that's the thing. Moving forward, it should be something that's in the forefront of everybody's mind. So not necessarily needing Riot to be doing that. My mind is more set on the event that just passed. I really felt like when that was announced, my first reaction was like, I hope that they're stipulating, because it's the first time, at least 20% of this has to make its way into the players' hands.
Just would have been more responsible, right, Mitch? If they're going to spring it like this, yeah?
Exactly.
In the future, it's not really responsibility. I totally agree, but like no one was really ready for this, I think. So, you know, come on, like take a bit of accountability.
Yeah, but like it could have just been a Champions 2 where nothing was announced and we still would have been happy because we didn't even know it was fucking coming, right? So now that it was announced, then it's good that there's at least something that was given back to the orgs themselves, so that, again, as Mitch was mentioning before, or Uber was mentioning before, like this is good money for the Brazilian organizations, the SEA organizations that need this type of funding for the teams, and that we hope that it invests into that. But like I said, if it wasn't announced, it was still going to be a great Champions no matter what. People would probably still would have watched. People still would have cheered for ACEND and for Gambit in the grand finals too. So I think this was just like a nice plus. And to think about how fast they had to turn that around to create those skins to be available for champions, I'm pretty sure all this was like kind of like thrown. Not necessarily last minute, but it wasn't in the original plans of 2021. So so then they're like, oh, what can we do? Like they're probably sitting around a fucking meeting table and be like, what can we do to actually finish champions with a bang? Hey, what if we actually created these fucking skins? You know? Yeah. So I feel that probably was that conversation that happened, which is why maybe some of the organizations were not aware that this was coming.
Yeah, so I think ultimately it makes sense that these sort of things from Riot's side, they had a lot to handle, which is where, unfortunately, in this scenario, it sort of falls into the organization's hands to do the right thing and to give the players what I think a lot of people would agree they're sort of morally owed, because they had a very big part in making it there and in selling those skins in the first place. But yeah, I guess at this point, all we can hope is that the players moving forward get in contact with agents, make sure that they have, or at least speak to their peers about their contract, read the fucking contract, get it seen by a lawyer. Like, these are expenses. They're not nice. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but it's worthwhile doing to make sure you don't get fucked over. And it's not always a malicious fuck over. Sometimes it's just things that are left out of the contract. A lot of the time, though, it's malicious fuck over. So, you know, orgs like to smile and say that you're friends. They're not. They're a business. And sometimes those businesses are run by assholes who want to fuck you over if they're given the chance. So, yeah, hopefully that's something that changes for the future, but right now it kind of sucks. A lot of players are not going to see that money, and it especially sucks for the players in LATAM. It sucks for the players in Brazil in lower income regions who might not make it there next time. They might not get a chance to renegotiate and get the money they're owed for the next time around. And if they were given it this time, it could change their lives forever. So it fucking sucks in my opinion, but is what it is.
Yeah, I guess in that sense, for sure, from a player's perspective. But again, it could have been one of those moments where we probably wouldn't have anything at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's better than nothing, for sure. Definitely good for the scene.
It's a commendable initiative, right? We're glad to have it. It's just like, you know, the way it actually, you know, manifested was less than ideal. And yeah, like it's fucking life-changing money for some people from some countries, right?
For sure.
And then having that taken away from them is much worse than from like an American who was already earning like, you know, $120K a year, whatever on their team. Who fucking knows?
Someone going home with 5 different color Rolexes ain't gonna be like, "Where's my fucking skin money, man?" But
exactly,
I can imagine if you're SEA
fucking muting people on Twitter for their own mental health. I mean, I did it this morning. I know what it's like, guys. Great to have you on. It's been a fucking it's been a good year. You know, the show. Well, I mean, we've come a long way since I've added it. I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's been a good grind.
Yeah, thanks for letting me carry you guys. It's been a real pleasure. And Vance, hopefully next year you come back with a little bit more, you know,
Don't you think I closed out the year quite well? Don't you think I was really opinionated and was fucking awesome today? Shut the fuck up.
I kid. No, we've actually, Mitch, I think we've managed to slowly coax Van Sealy out of his shell. Now, we've not coaxed him with anything like kind words. It's been more like a taser, but we've got him to come out of his fucking shell a bit, don't you reckon?
Oh, yeah. It's like we've taught him to fight by kicking the shit out of him, but we've got there. In the end, the man can throw a punch, and he can take it. So that's all
and I could fucking take him. I could fucking take him. That's the most important part, too.
Yeah, Valorant, like, it rants about the game and hazing of the boomer. On the show. All right, real quickly. Obviously tomorrow, we have another show here on Do Not Peek. It's called The Breakdown. That's me, and that's Scoots. So, yeah, I usually head out to Arizona for it. I don't know if I'll head out or do it from home, but there will be a breakdown show, and it's a bit more general. Sort of talk about sort of the bigger issues that are going on in esports. So, great chance just to involve chat as well in discussions about some of the more overarching things, like what happened in the Halo thing in Rally, or what's going on with CS and all that sort of stuff. We get to dive into that a little bit more. And obviously Scoots is, he's easing himself in. I expect to get some full-blown rants from him, just like old Scoots, but you know what I mean?
He was tamed last week. He was tamed last week.
No, he was. And he
sounded like Van Silly. What the fuck, Scoots?
I think he's just growing up. You know what I mean?
His energy, bro.
He's growing up. 58,000 years later.
Yeah, he's grown up, and you know what I mean. He's almost like he wants me to be the attack dog, which is kind of fine because I'm jaded enough to do that as well. Been around just long enough. But check that out. It's obviously a great show. 12 p.m. PDT tomorrow. We're going to be ideally in the studios in Arizona, so it's a great setup. We're behind a whole virtual set. It's cool, guys.
I like the kangaroo in the background you got.
Yeah, there's a fucking. Do you know what? There's like a gym set behind me, and like
I saw that
TV
too. I saw that
my
too.
Workouts. That's fun. Guys, good to be here with you. Thanks for a great year of Valoranting.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody that's been watching, viewing, commenting, just fucking molding with us, having fun with us, making fun of me at the same time. It's been a fucking awesome year. Hopefully we'll be able to do this again in 2022.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Bacon. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks you guys for being here. We're going to see you guys in the new year. Get set for a pretty crazy year of Valorant in 2022. We'll be there every step of the way to guide you along with our heavily biased and very vociferous opinions. So I hope to see you back next year. Until then, enjoy your holidays.
Happy holidays.